We're recording.
Meeting, please come to order. Barbara, please call the roll.
We have Commissioners Levine, Berard, McLean-Hill, and Noonan present.
This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. I'll have brief opening remarks. First of all, the last meeting I had to apologize on behalf of the board for commissioners being late. They weren't nearly as late as today, and again, I apologize. It's inconsiderate of the audience, and I regret that this has happened 2 meetings in a row. I have an unfortunate matter to share with those of you who are not aware of it. With a heavy heart, I would like to acknowledge that on Monday, May 6th, an unfortunate accident at a worksite at the Sylmar Converter Station resulted in the passing of one of our employees, Donald DeYoung, electrical mechanic supervisor. Another employee who has requested privacy sustained serious injuries and has a long road to recovery ahead of her. This news obviously greatly saddens me and the board and the entire LADWP family. Losing one of our own is always difficult, but particularly so when it occurs while working to fulfill our mission of delivering water and power to our customers. Day in and day out, many of our LADWP employees work in hazardous conditions. We keep safety top of mind because we want to make sure everyone gets to go home to their families at the end of the day, and yet we are reminded that life is fragile. As our employee recovers from her injuries, let's all keep her in our thoughts and prayers. We are all pulling for her to make a full recovery. And to the family and friends of Donald DeYoung, our warmest condolences. The entire DWP family is with you during this difficult time. We thank Donald for letting LADWP be a part of his life. And with that, I ask that we all honor Donald with a moment of silence. Thank you. We have one public comment card.
Okay, the public speaker is Johann Steinlencher.
All board members, my name is Johann Steinlechner. I was the last 7 years in Los Alamos National Laboratory. We developed a wind turbine. We can, as is right now, with all the data we have, supply the green electricity in state of California. We don't have to use outside electricity coming in from out of the state. So you are the first agency I'm talking to. It is here in a perfect position. Number one, you got the land. Not only this, you got the land and the lines coming to Los Angeles and also going back to Nevada. And the Mojave Desert, which is need 12 square miles to power Los Angeles on wind. Not only this, but we also just broke numbers 14 days ago with hydrogen production. The best annual National Renewable Energy Department could do was $3.65. We can produce hydrogen now at 80 cents. So it's a game changer. I just like to know who I can get in touch with, who are the main people, the smartest people in this house here, and how we can start this progress. Not only this, I meet also Mrs. Waters, Congress lady in Palm Springs. I have to go back to Washington. They like to back me up with $4 billion on my venture. And it will be great when Los Angeles City will be the first city to show the world it can be done.
Thank you very much. Marty, who should this gentleman?
You can reach out to me and I'll get with the right staff.
Okay, that's terrific.
Here, by the way, I'm on the front page out of 19,000 engineers.
Thank you very much. Okay, I want to take 2 items out of order for presentation. They will be item 19, the resolution honoring Stephen Tucker on his retirement and service to LADWP, as well as filed item 9B2, 2019 Recycled Water Customer of the Year, Woodley Park. So we will go to item 19, honoring Stephen Tucker, and on that item, I would like to call on Marty Adams.
Thank you, President Levine and board members. It's my honor today to present to you Stephen Tucker. Stephen will complete as June to be 33 years of service with the Department of Water and Power, and I've had the pleasure of working with him since 1996, 1997 when we were together in water distribution. There's a few folks who want to speak today, so I'll be brief, but I wanted to highlight some of Stephen's career goals and the highlights here. You know, when he started with us, he started as a mechanical engineer in the fleet section. He originally actually was a religion major from Morehouse College. So he made it from Bakersfield, California to Morehouse, got a degree in religion, which we did go to, we used to go to the cathedral every now and then, and although he wasn't Catholic, we had quite some good discussions of the course of the Mass there. But then he came back to Cal State Northridge, got his degree in mechanical engineering, and joined the department in 1986 as part of our fleet group. And that was the first glimpse of who Stephen was. When he was part of our fleet team, he changed the way that we procured vehicles by doing some performance-based specs that were different than the way we had spec'd out vehicles before that. He spent a good amount of time in water distribution, working where Mr. Lindsay is now. Stephen, that's where we met. He was regionally working in one of the squads, supporting all of our crews, and then he was the supervisor over the Harbor District squad, so he managed all the new construction in the Harbor District, all the new projects and installations for services and water lines, and did that engineering. He's had some folks that he's mentored over his career. His assistant at the time was Anselmo Collins, who we've seen here several times, so he's had an impact on a lot of folks' careers over the years. Stephen then promoted to waterworks engineer in water distribution, and in that course we saw him again take on a whole new venture, and this has been kind of a keynote of his career here. He took on our trunk line construction when we decided that we needed to begin constructing large diameter trunk lines in-house. We had not done that for a number of years, and we had contracted all that work out. And so Stephen began the trunk line construction squad and the engineering support, and helped put together the field crews that would do that. And currently we have about 70 folks that do trunk line construction. They've put in about 20 miles of pipe since that group started. One of his proteges is another division head in water, Andy Lennard. So again, Stephen touched people in their careers and has seen great advancement, because it's one of the themes that I've seen in him is always bring people along and help people to become better at what they do. Stephen moved to Water Executive Office and worked for Jim McDaniel as his staff engineer. It was during that time we were suffering from some of the separation packages, and we did not have a big recruiting program for engineering. And so Stephen took it upon himself to reinitiate our department's recruiting program for engineers. And so he actually rallied a number of other engineers together, and they began doing on-campus visiting for recruiting, and that parlayed into on-campus interviewing. And he's still, to this day, well, a couple days ago, he's still, no more, maybe he'll come back and help us out. He still has gone on recruiting trips, and a matter of fact, he went on a trip to Howard College and some of the other historically black universities about a couple months ago, and did a major recruiting trip looking at some of the bright engineers that and trying to get them to come to work for the Department of Water and Power and other departments in the city. Then he's coordinated that with other city departments in that effort. And so he did, so one of his key things in Water Exec was really getting recruiting going for the engineering section, and not just in water, but in both in water and power. Then he went to WETS and he worked on our project management program, and we had just tried to really change how we did our capital program. And during that time we had a lot of growth in capital expenditures, and he oversaw a change in WETS going from about a $300 million a year program to about a $1 billion a year program. And it was during that time that he actually instituted the Water Systems Asset Management Program and began a new project delivery program. And as part of that, they came out with what was a PMO, the Project Management Office. And so, once again, Stephen was at the forefront of coming up with new thinking, new ideas, new innovation for how we manage projects. When I look at the things that he's got in his credentials, he has a certificate from the Project Management Institute. Is that the right title? he was the first one. I remember when he came in, I said, I want to go to this class and take and become credentialed in project management so we can really up our game. And then he took that to all his employees as well. And so he found a way to really help us improve ourselves and improve what we do in terms of project management and really take on this huge amount of capital work in a very efficient way. He spent about 12 months in FSO and then came back to the water system, and then he moved on a few years ago to corporate project management office, and David created a corporate office to try to deal with some of the big department-wide ventures that we were doing, such as smart metering, some of the enterprise systems and things like that. And it's there from that position that Stefan retires today. He has been a stalwart of new ideas in the department, new thinking, trying to get us up to speed with industry standards, trying to make sure that we are doing the best possible job we can with the money that the public entrusts to us. And he's set an example for other people as well. Importantly, he's been so important on developing his staff, bringing them along, making sure that they had the credentials and the education that they needed and support in their careers as well. One of the nicest things that I can think about Stefan in recent time is that in 2018, he founded the African American Engineers Council that would help bring our African American engineers to focus on increasing diversity throughout the department. And that also led to the recruiting effort that I spoke about a moment ago. And he's been extremely involved in really reaching the young folks, really helping us to have a diverse workforce, to really go out and take his own time to make a difference in the community and in the lives of folks that can make a fantastic career here at the department, and to encourage those people and mentor them as they start their careers here. And so we will sadly miss Stefan. We'll miss his new thinking. We'll miss the fact that he's created so many new avenues for us. He's not going to be too far away, I don't think. I'm sure we'll see him turn up from time to time. But he's had a wonderful career here. He's made a real difference at the Department of Water and Power, not just in the water system where he spent most of his time, but throughout the entire department. The things that he's done has impacted a lot of folks. And it's not just notes on a paper in terms of what he did for a job, but it's how he did it and the attitude that he brought and his thinking and creativity. And we'll sadly miss that, but we congratulate him on his retirement and wish him the best in his future.
Thank you very much. Although it will be difficult to follow Dr. Adams, I suspect that some commissioners may want to make some comments. Commissioner McLean-Hill.
I do, but I'd like to reserve my comments till after public comment, if that's okay.
Sure. Dave?
Yes, I wanted to say a couple words about Stefan and how what a momentous day I know in moving forward in his life today is, but how much we're going to miss you. Stefan has just made significant contributions over his whole career towards our goals. And I know when I first set up the corporate project management office, I started asking around who in the department would be good for this. And it was consistent over and over. Stefan Tucker is the person you need to bring out. He's got the best background in project management. He is the person that will do the best job, and it truly is the case. Stefan did a fantastic job as corporate program management, looking at a few things like our enterprise resources planning system, a lot of the efforts towards smart grid. And Marty touched on your recruiting efforts, but you didn't mention that over the last couple of years, you've gone to 15 different on-campus events to interview engineers. I mean, that's phenomenal, and have been so instrumental in bringing people on board. Another thing, Marty talked about his program management professional certification. What you didn't mention also is that Stefan would have free lunchtime mentoring programs to train staff and prepare them for the certification examination. And I'll tell you, anybody who's had to take an examination for certification, if there's someone that can help you and mentor you and help review for that, it is so welcome. And Stefan, I know a number of our staff really thank you for that effort. I just want to really, again, thank you for your personal commitment, your enthusiasm, your leadership, and you will really be missed here, and I can't thank you enough for being here and working for us. Thank you.
Will we and,
I'm sorry, I just
Commissioner
wanted to say
Noonan.
something very quickly. No, so Stefan, I've had the honor and pleasure to work alongside you for many years now. I also have had the honor of attending a graduation from Morehouse, so I can only imagine how proud the university and the chancellor is of your leadership and what you've accomplished here. So kudos to you. We will miss you, but we hope that you enjoy your retirement.
We are honored to have two prominent members of our community here to say a few words on behalf regarding Stefan. First, Public Works Commissioner Dr. Mike Davis, and then Chief of Staff to Paul Koretz, Joan Pellico.
Thank you very much, President Levine and Vice President Cynthia McLean-Hill and Commissioners Barad and Noonan. It is an honor and privilege for me to be here. I know that when it was mentioned about the work that Stefan has done, that it was mentioned about his work in working in the citywide historically black colleges and universities engineering recruitment committee. It is a citywide committee because we have an underrepresentation of African American engineers throughout the city of Los Angeles. And I must say, as we look to diversity, which is a value of our mayors, that the Department of Water and Power has been forward-thinking and has been progressive in terms of its inclusion. However, it is a priority for our city, as it is for many other municipalities. Stefan Tucker has been the senior member of the citywide historically black colleges and universities engineering recruitment program. And in that, as has been stated by your able general manager, he did a Herculean job in terms of the productivity of going out to those universities. And in fact, he has brought back the bacon. You know, many people go, they say that the hen, just because the hen is in the chicken coop doesn't mean they're laying eggs. Well, I have to tell you that we have been proud to know that the Department of Water and Power has actually gone out and recruited and hired one, because after all, that is our goal. And anybody that knows anything about diversity and civil rights, it's not an easy job, and we all can learn from it, because it is an extension of not only who you are, but it is appreciation for who others are. Stefan went to more universities than any other person in the city, and trust me, every city is represented in this particular committee. And in doing so, again, I was so proud of what you all have been able to accomplish through his work and his representation of your department. So on behalf of the Department of Public Works, because it's a collaborative effort with all of the departments in the city that hire engineers, not just you, not just us in Public Works, but you are the leader in that, thanks to Stefan. And so on behalf of Public Works and the historically black colleges and universities recruitment committee, I had to also, let me just tell you, explain why we had to have this HBCU committee. It wasn't because these people are giving privilege or special attention, it's because they have been underrepresented and haven't been given any attention. So having said that, in recognition of 33 years of outstanding leadership, it is our pleasure at the Board of Public Works and on behalf of all of the city departments to give this recognition to Stefan Tucker, Assistant General Manager of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, for your planning, execution, and evaluation of minority engineer recruiting, as has been distinguished as your service has been given as senior member of the citywide Los Angeles Historically Black Colleges and Universities Engineering Committee. And one final one, which is always an honor for me to represent our mayor, Mayor Eric Garcetti. As you know, Mayor Eric Garcetti has a back to basic principles, and the first among those is that he wants to create jobs in Los Angeles for all, and I put a capital A on all, for all of Los Angeles. No one has exemplified that value that we find in the back to basic principles than Stefan Tucker. Not only has he done it in the citywide committee, but as your general manager has said, Mr. Wright, he has done it here on his job. He has walked the walk and not just talked the talk. So on behalf of Mayor Eric Garcetti, and Eric Garcetti, our mayor, has said that he wants to make Los Angeles a place where people, I always say inclusion, he says he doesn't like the word inclusion. He says he wants everybody who works here of all backgrounds and all cultures to feel like they belong. So for a person who has been an ambassador for those values, on behalf of Mayor Eric Garcetti, congratulations, Stefan D. Tucker, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, of over 33 years of service. As mayor of the city of Los Angeles and on behalf of its residents, I'm pleased to join the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power as they honor and give recognition to you on this momentous occasion of your retirement. I congratulate you on your many years of distinguished service and achievement in public service. I commend your professionalism and dedication to the community and citizens of the great city of Los Angeles, with best wishes for your future health, prosperity, and happiness. Signed, Mayor Eric Garcetti, Mayor.
He's going to have so many of those that he's going to need a little help with getting to the card. So.
Good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners. GM Marty Adams. It is my honor and my privilege to be here on behalf of the entire Los Angeles City Council District, the City Council members for climate change, environment, and energy. And I just met Stefan, and I had to ask him, is this 33 years or 32 years? And he said he's 2 weeks shy of 33 years, because in the resolution, it says 32 years. So already hearing Marty, this is how they reel you back in, you know. They're going to say you haven't fulfilled your 33 years and you're back. But that's what happens when you have valuable, outstanding servants to the City of Los Angeles and the Department of Water and Power. It is a highly respected department. The men and women of the department are highly respected, and we do know what goes behind the scenes and how hard everybody works. And Stefan, you have done it all. And your beautiful wife, Mrs. Tucker, congratulations to you as well. So again, the city council members, the mayor of Los Angeles want to commend you. And everybody said what they needed to say about you. So I would just like to present this to you and wish you the best of everything in your future, your successes in your new endeavors, your new chapter. And you sound like you've left your mark. You sound like you've been outstanding in everything you've done. And you sound like you've been an amazing human being. So congratulations, Stefan Tucker.
So first, thank you for allowing me to exercise my commission prerogative to go last, as opposed to in the midst of that parade of praise. You know, the last presenter, I have not had an extensive opportunity to work with Stefan, and that is something that I regret sincerely. I did, however, and stopped everything to pay attention when I started to receive this barrage of emails and input from people both within the department and outside of the department to make sure that you're urging me to do everything in my power, that is to make sure, along with others, that your leaving this department was recognized in the right way. And upon that occurrence, I did take the time to begin to ask around and to try to understand, like, what is this? You did a good job, I understand, he's been here a long time, but what's this all about? And I learned a great deal about what it's all about. And you have been, I think it's certainly important to note that you have been an extraordinary leader within this department, and the city and the public owes you a great debt for your leadership. What jumped out at me, though, is something beyond that. There is the work that you did, but there's also, in the context of being a tremendous leader here, you were also a pioneer. And that's what made everybody stop and say, we need to recognize. You know, society's changed so much, although sometimes it seems like not enough, but so much over the last 30, 40, 50 years that we forget that in 1986, there weren't that many African American engineers working anywhere, let alone here. And that not only did you achieve what you achieved, but you did it without a blueprint for your service. And not only doing your job, but being the first to do that job in a way that allowed you to rise to the ranks of an assistant general manager, becoming the first African American who began in this department their career to achieve that objective. That is what made everybody stop and say, we need to do and say something about this. I also know, being the first in many situations in my life and family, that that's not something that happens just because you are who you are. That's something that happens as a way of your recognizing not only who you are, but who the people in your life have been and what they did to make it possible for you to be you. And when I hear about all of the hands that you've extended to others, making sure that you are lifting people as you climb, I know what that's about too, and I really respect and appreciate that, and I know your colleagues do as well. So upon your leaving this department, you've not only left this department a better department because of your enormous capabilities, but a better department because of the examples that you've set for others. And also the example that you've set for people who don't even know you, but who've seen what's possible because you are who you are and did what you did. I sincerely appreciate and want to acknowledge that today as well. So as you move into your next endeavor, and I have to tell you, I am so sad that you are leaving, because your kind of leadership and your kind of commitment and your kind of example is a rare gift. I wish you very, very, very much the best and look forward to continuing to get to know you in your next incarnation. So thank you.
Well, we're not done yet. We have a resolution to consider. This probably won't be the most controversial resolution we'll be considering in this meeting. But first, before I ask for a motion and a second, I'd like to read the resolution. It's a City of Los Angeles Department of Water and Power resolution, which reads, whereas Stefan D. Tucker began his career with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power on June 16, 1986, and has provided exemplary leadership throughout his nearly 33 years of picking up on that of service in fleet engineering, water distribution, water engineering and technical services, water executive, financial services organization, and joint services organization. And whereas Stefan D. Tucker earned multiple degrees, professional licensure, and certifications, having demonstrated professionalism, technical expertise, visionary leadership, and innovative thinking in many areas of infrastructure development, technology implementations, program and project management, asset management, strategic planning, and organizational leadership and development. And whereas Stefan D. Tucker has served in management positions of increasing responsibility at the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, notably he managed the Capital Improvement Program from August 2002 to February 2009, overseeing over 180 different capital projects for the water system. And whereas Stefan D. Tucker elevated the importance of infrastructure reliability by establishing the Trunkline Construction Section, which currently employs a staff of over 70 people and has constructed more than 20 miles of large diameter water transmission pipelines since 2001. And whereas Stefan D. Tucker laid the groundwork for Water Systems Asset Management Program to adopt industry best practices for managing the complete life cycle of assets and transforming the way infrastructure renewal and investment decisions are made, and whereas Stefan D. Tucker markedly improved the effectiveness of project delivery practices through development and implementation of the Water System Project Management Office. Under Mr. Tucker's leadership, the Project Management Office achieved an outstanding execution rate of greater than 90% of planned spending on major segments of the capital improvement program. And whereas Stefan D. Tucker was appointed as Assistant General Manager and Director of Corporate Program Management Office by General Manager David H. Wright to lead and direct the department's highest priority initiatives such as Smart Grid, Enterprise Resources Planning software implementation, and development of an office building for the Joint Services Organization. And whereas Stefan D. Tucker has demonstrated steadfast leadership and an unwavering commitment toward advancing the department's core value of diversity and inclusion in the workplace by establishing recruitment programs, policies, and hiring practices that include outreach to students of engineering programs at several of our nation's prestigious historically black colleges and universities, further ensuring our workforce reflects the diversity of the people and communities we serve. And whereas Stefan D. Tucker's retirement celebrates an indelible legacy of professional accomplishments that has made a difference for the department's highest priorities, Mr. Tucker's leadership will most certainly be missed by many of our personnel, colleagues, and stakeholders who have worked with and have otherwise come to know Mr. Tucker as an upstanding engineer and exemplary civil servant. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Water and Power Commissioners, on behalf of the management of this department and its employees and the residents of the City of Los Angeles, thanks Stefan D. Tucker for his dedicated public service. Be it further resolved that the Secretary be instructed to place this resolution in the minutes of this board as a permanent record, and that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Mr. Tucker in recognition of his commitment and dedication to public service in this city. I hereby certify that the foregoing is a full, true, and correct copy of a resolution. It says adopted. We will assume its adoption. Adopted by the Board of Water and Power Commissioners of the City of Los Angeles at its meeting held on May 14, 2019, signed by me. I move approval of the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none. This resolution is unanimously adopted. Stefan, would you like to say a few words?
Sure, thank you, President Levine. I know what you're all thinking. This guy is way too young to retire. But trust me when I tell you, the bones and joints tell me that I'm of the right age. I've had a tremendous career in water and power, and it's amazing to hear it recited back to me when all I was ever trying to do is just go about my work and do the right thing for the Department of Water and Power. And what's even more amazing is that a young man from Bakersfield, California, with tank top and cut-off jeans, riding his bikes through the dusty streets of Bakersfield, California, could actually make it to one of the most prestigious historically black colleges and universities in the country and graduate, and come to Cal State Northridge and make it through their engineering program, and then actually come through the front door at the Department of Water and Power and make it all the way to the level of Assistant General Manager. When I think about that, I find it hard to believe that it's me. And I'm going to try to say this next part without breaking down. Because forgive me. one of the most remarkable things that ever happened to me in my entire 33-year career happened last Friday. When a young man that we recruited from Florida A&M University came into work on his off day to meet with me, to tell me how he changed his life by recruiting him to this department. That made it all worthwhile. And what I would like to say to you, and I would just beg of you, that you not abandon your commitment to diversity, because we're not only hiring good engineers, African American, Hispanic, and women, but we're changing lives in doing it. And we're adding a lot of talent to the Department of Water and Power, so please keep that commitment. Thanks to everybody who didn't come for this and has endured all the time that it's taken. Thanks to commissioners for the resolution, and thanks for everybody who had a hand in putting this together. But I would say with these parting words, let me introduce my family first. My amateur photographer wife, Clea. My son, Bryce. My mother-in-law, Cassandra. Clea is very accomplished, actually. My friends tell me I'm the slacker in the family. But I wanted to introduce them before I sat down. But my enormous heartfelt thanks goes to everybody who I've worked with, everybody who supported me, everybody who's allowed me to do what I've done, because I've stood on some shoulders of some great men and women in this department. And a lot of that has been recited. It just wasn't all me. It was the employees that followed my leadership and really got it done. And I'd just like to say thank you to them. Thank you.
Stefan, why don't you and your family come up for a couple pictures? Sure.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I thought so too. Roderick, so please stay in touch. I think you would enjoy meeting each other, and I think that you're passionate. It's I've been here for a very decade.
All right. How about the resolution? All right.
And everybody get in a roll.
I think let them do that. Well, we could do that too. So we can do that separately.
Sure.
He's done it a couple of times before. And all these speedsters.
I'll let you go right in front of
I need a box or box?
Oh, no, you're fine.
Sorry.
That's all right. I understand.
Okay, but you're.
It took me a few years for that.
Yeah, that's nice. Tilt the resolution down a little. There you go. Thanks. Okay.
Okay, let's do one with the city, or which?
Those are the city council.
Why don't you move it closer?
Yes.
So that will back.
Are you okay with this going in our newsletter?
Oh,
good. You got you in.
And Kristen right up front, right?
So
There we go. Yeah, you're ready? Right here, please. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Congratulations. Awesome. Go celebrate.
You got the heavy hand. Got it? Okay. Thank you. Great to see you. Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, is that your original? Oh, what size is the rising sun? Oh my gosh, gorgeous.
Okay, that's going to be a tough act to follow.
We're up to it.
We're going to move to another award. File item 9B2, the 2019 Recycled Water Customer of the Year, Woodley Park. And I think that's Dr. Harisick who's going to do the presentation.
Thank you. We are here, and we're happy to be here to recognize Woodley Park as our 2019 Recycled Water Customer of the Year. We established this award to recognize customers that make extraordinary efforts to increase their use of recycled water. And all of our recycled water use customers in our service area were considered in the selection of this year's award, and Woodley Park was determined to be an outstanding example of recycled water. And they were judged by not only judges from Water and Power, but also sanitation and other stakeholders from our One Water LA coalition. So today we're glad to have Tom Gibson. Tom come up. He's a landscape architect with Rec and Parks to accept the 2019 award. Woodley Park was converted to recycled water use in two phases. Phase 1 was completed in 2012 and Phase 2 was completed in 2015. In addition to the standard signage that Rec and Parks uses at Woodley Park, they've also deployed several banners to emphasize their use of recycled water, and Rec and Parks also has a water conservation website where they discuss their use of recycled water, and Woodley Park has used 162 acre-feet of recycled water, and most significantly, 98.7 of their water use is from recycled water. So congratulations, Tom and Rec and Parks.
And thank you.
Well as that. Tom would like to say a few words and introduce his team.
Good, we would like him to. Great. Congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. So Tom Gibson, landscape architect. So I brought some backup here. So here we are again accepting one of these beautiful awards, this time for our Woodley Avenue Park Recycled Water Project. Woodley Avenue Park is, I think, unique in the world. Where else can you find such a diverse group of both active and passive recreational activities? There's open space, picnicking, a playground, a wildlife preserve and nature center, an archery range, the Apollo 11 model airplane flight field, and America's premium cricket fields. And what ties them all together? The utilization of recycled water that your DWP staff found a way to bring to the park, and the use of which our Recreation and Park staff brought to fruition. I can't think of a better way to thank you than to introduce you to the special and core career Recreation and Parks personnel who over the last 11 years have been responsible for the implementation of recycled water and water conservation projects that our departments have partnered on. Stephanie Smith heads our Griffith Park Regional Maintenance Division and oversees our irrigation specialist group. Don Gonzer, our lead irrigation specialist in charge of construction projects. Edgar Becerra, our longtime irrigation specialist crew leader. Thurman Calloway Jr. heads our San Fernando Valley Regional Maintenance Division and is therefore responsible for maintaining Woodley Park as well as all the parks in San Fernando Valley. Chris Atencio, the landscape architect, I've charged with much of the irrigation design work. And of course, Dana Valdez and Rosemary Ramos, who run our successful and important Smart Irrigation Youth Training Program. On behalf of our General Manager, Michael Scholl, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations and thank you. General Manager.
Yes, I had three things I wanted to cover today. The first being you opened the meeting with a description of a tragic accident last week where an employee lost his life and another was seriously injured. I'd like I'd like Andy to just go over what will happen now, what's the investigation, and how that will move forward. So, Andy.
I'm the other Marty. So, again, as you opened the meeting with on Monday, May 6th, we had a tragic accident that affected 2 of our employees. So when an accident like this happens, and we hope it never does, immediately 911 is called, LA Fire Department, police show up. So in this case, when there's a serious injury and a fatality, it triggers other things besides the department's investigation, and I'll go into the department's investigation. But when we have an incident like this, it triggers the Cal OSHA Bureau of Investigations department within Cal OSHA. And this is different from a regular investigation in the sense that the Bureau of Investigations investigates this for possible prosecution. And based on their investigation, they could turn this over to local law enforcement for prosecution. LA Police Department also conducted an investigation here to look at this, and we're still waiting results of those investigations. They typically take a little while.
I take it we get notified of the results?
We will get notified of the results, but again, that typically will take anywhere from 2 to 4 months to even longer at times. Once the Bureau of Investigations is done, they will turn their results, and if they determine there's no prosecution to be done, then it'll turn over to the regular Cal OSHA investigators, and then they will provide their reports. When these things happen within the department, our administrative manual has specific instructions for how to investigate these type of incidents. And we take this very seriously. I'm responsible for these people. So, I take any kind of accident like this as a failure on my part, right? My job is to protect these people, and I failed. So we will investigate this. We will follow our procedures, and we will determine what happened so that we will prevent this from happening again. I had hoped to get to my retirement date, whenever that is, without ever having to go through this again. And I tell you, we will work to make sure that I get to my retirement date without this happening again and never happening again once I'm gone. But we do have a procedure. It involves the committee and a makeup of the committee, which involves members from Power System Safety, Water System Safety, Corporate Safety, IBW Local 18, the Joint Safety Institute, Fleet Operations, and the Power Transmission Distribution Maintenance Group. We bring in different levels, managers who are not part of this chain of command to participate. We bring in people with expertise on this committee. We will have people who have operated the equipment, people who have done the job the employees have done. And then we'll bring in other people as witnesses. And so that investigation started on Thursday, the 9th. And continues now. Along with that, at that point, each of the divisions does an administrative investigation as well, outside of the safety process, and they're 2 completely different investigations. And that is going on now. Also, the city attorney and the claims office do their own investigation. We will take as much time as we need to make sure that this is thorough. We'll bring in as many people as we can that either saw part of it, were witness, were there, to determine what happened. Again, this was my responsibility and I failed. And I take that very seriously. I've been here almost 37 years. I've worked through many fatalities in this company. And I'll tell you, we have worked very hard from the beginning ones that started and brought our power system safety group to life because we didn't have one. And we've gotten better over time. We'll continue to get better. We'll continue to work through this and make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, obviously, thank you for your report. And I just want to say that, this is a department-wide responsibility, and I think we are all committed to the safety of our employees in the workplace, and appreciate understanding the efforts that are underway, not just separate and apart from determining who's to blame, which is really not where my thoughts are, but learning from this incident in order to ensure that it's not repeated. And I also appreciate, although would like to, moving forward, learn a little more about the department's safety record and the efforts, how that process is as administered, but to share your deep both commitment to and sense of responsibility for maintaining a safe workplace, and certainly share in the remarks made by our board president at the top of the meeting in terms of our profound regret and condolences both to the family of the employee who perished in the accident, and our deepest prayers and thoughts for the employee and family members that continue to endure the process of recovery from this. So appreciate the report. Thank you.
I truly believe that President Levine and Vice President McLean-Hill have expressed my thoughts. But equally as important for me just to share is that as soon as I got this news, I took it to heart. And Mr. Kendall, I've worked with you for a long time. I know how loyal and responsible you are. And as much pain as we're all feeling in terms of feeling responsible, I hope that you know that I think that you're a fabulous boss. I have written letters to the Dubois family and our colleague who is in the hospital. And if they are listening, I hope that they know that I've been sending my love and prayers to them.
Thank you.
I just want to add my comment, which is substantially the same as the two that you've heard before, Andy. Obviously, your profound sorrow and leadership is admirable and totally consistent with who you are. But I think Commissioner McLean-Hill made a very important point when she said this is a full department responsibility. It doesn't rest on the shoulders of a single person. Your leadership in ferreting out any lessons that can be learned from this will be greatly valued and greatly appreciated. But to assume responsibility for this is, in my view, and I gather in the view of my colleagues, is not a fair apportionment of responsibility. It's not yours, it's everybody's. So hopefully we will learn from the investigation ways to make sure these things don't ever happen again, and your leadership in this obviously will be extremely valuable. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we will. We will determine what happened. We will determine why it happened, and we will keep it from happening again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Two other items that are more personnel related, if you will. I did want to note today that Ann Santilli has been made the permanent Chief Financial Officer for the department after serving a wonderful term as interim. I can't think of anyone who could do a better job and who hasn't already shown what a great job that she'll do. And Ann,
Why does she look so relaxed?
she's so calm. That's what you love about it. Just here's the stuff. It's such, has just done such a wonderful job during her whole career here as interim, and I'm so proud to announce that. And then finally, I would like to turn it back over to Andy to announce a couple more staff. Thank you.
So I'd like to bring up Dan Barnes, the director of our Power Transmission and Distribution Division, and he has some new appointments that we'd like to introduce you to.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm here, and like Andy said, to introduce a few appointments that we have, and I'm very proud of these. And each and every one of these individuals are very deserving, and we have great, we expect great things from each and one of these individuals. So first, I'd like to introduce Mr. Arthur Johnson. He is now our new Electrical Service Manager 4. He will be responsible for our distribution, construction, and maintenance groups, and that's all of our districts, and also our contract operations, overhead distribution design, and inspection and maintenance. Mr. Arthur Johnson. Second, I'd like to introduce Mr. David Seward. He is our new ESM 4 over distribution operations. He will oversee, I guess I put these on, so it helps. So I was wondering, man, why is this so blurry? So, Mr. Seward, he will oversee our electric trouble dispatch, street light maintenance, inspection and maintenance, overhead and underground transmission, street light support, vegetation management. Mr. David Seward. And these next 4 individuals are 4 brand new managers. So they were just actually promoted and took effect yesterday, May 13th. And again, we are very proud of these 4 individuals and look forward to great things from each and every one of them. So Mr. Ed Slattery, who is not here, he had a scheduled vacation, so we allowed him to do that before he goes on his 1-year probation. So he was looking forward to that. So Mr. Slattery will be responsible for our Northern District groups, and he will report to Mr. Art Johnson. We have Mr. Randy Bowen. Mr. Bowen is responsible for our Southern districts, and that will consist of West Los Angeles, Central, Palms, and Wilmington. And he is also responsible for our fleet functions, and he will also report to Mr. Arthur Johnson. So, Mr. Randy Bowen. We have Mr. Ruben Hauser. He will report to Mr. David Seward, and Mr. Hauser will be responsible for overhead, underground transmission, streetlight support, and vegetation management. So, Mr. Ruben Hauser. And finally, and not least, but finally, Ms. P-Joy Chua, if she is here. Ms. P-Joy Chua, we are proud to announce that she is one of the first electrical service managers, females, to ever be promoted. So we're very proud of that. But I want to make it well known that that is not the reason she was promoted. She was promoted for her efforts and her capabilities. And again, we are looking forward to great things from her as well. So we're very proud of her. And she will report to Mr. Art Johnson as well. And she is responsible for our codes and ordinance, contract operations, and our Owens Valley Electric System District up in Lone Pine. So, Ms. P-Joy Chua. Again, it's been a long time. You can see we've had a lot of movement in PTD. We got a lot more coming out in the field, but we're proud of each and every one of these. I'm very excited about all my managers here, so they will do great things for us. So thank you.
Congratulations to all of you. We're expecting great things from all of you. And keep up the good work. Congratulations. That's it?
Yes.
Okay, we move on the agenda to comments from commissioners on agendized items and requests from commissioners relating to departmental operations. Do we have any commissioner comments?
I have two.
Okay.
So following up on the meeting notes dated April 23rd, 2019, I did follow up with a couple of people about my request regarding cybersecurity firms that we are interviewing, and I would like a more formal response on my request, which I have not received as to date. And then I was asked to look into our excess liability insurance for wildfires. And I would like information why Mercer is using multiple intermediaries in the market. I can understand using one or two, but currently they're using 2 E&S, 2 in Bermuda, and 2 in London. I would like to know how much this is costing our ratepayers, if there is a commission being given to Mercer on top of the fee sharing that we're giving them. And in my opinion, I feel that we lose leverage when doing this, so I'd like an explanation on this strategy. Thank you.
Noted by the general manager with a shake of his head. Commissioner McLean-Hill?
Yes, I'd like to follow up on a request related to the department plan for essentially managing the number of employees, sort of the workplace environment in the building, specifically as it relates to just the stacking of each floor. In addition to that, though, I'd also like to understand the communications plan related to that. So both what's our strategy, what's the timing, and how are we communicating to our employees what is occurring around all of this movement. And if I could have that back at the next board meeting, that would be great.
Hearing no others, ratepayer advocate.
I will have comments on items as needed, but we'll probably have some comments on the final budget.
Item 6, Barbara, discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any neighborhood council resolution or community impact statement filed with the city clerk, which relate to any agenda item listed or being considered on this agenda for the Water and Power Board.
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on the items on today's agenda.
Great. Okay, we'll move to the open agenda to determine which items can be voted on a consent calendar and which of those items on the open agenda will be pulled for discussion. These are items 11 through 18. Do any commissioners wish to remove any of those items? Commissioner Barad.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to pull items 11 and number 16.
Okay, 11 and 16 to be pulled by Commissioner Barad. Any others?
I would like to pull 13, 14, and 18, please.
13, 14, and 18. Okay, that leaves for consent item 12, item 15, and item 17. Is there a motion to approve those items? I move them. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those items are approved. We will hear items 11, 13, 14, 16, and 18 after we get to them on the agenda. So if you're here for any of the items that were pulled, you don't need to stick around unless you want to hear other items. Okay, 8A, interim rate review by the ratepayer advocate.
I will speak from the table because I'm going to need the mouse.
Good.
The interim rate review was established by the rate ordinances passed in early 2016, and it required the development of a report by DWP, which DWP submitted to the board on February 26th, and required, once we had the information we needed, within 60 days, providing a report to the board. This presentation is an overview of that report. A written report will follow in a few days. The DWP board is required to act by the end of June on this, or an additional study may be required. The council may do a 245 action on the DWP board action on the recommendations and actions from this. The key decision that's involved in this action is whether or not to increase or decrease the existing base rate numbers for this fiscal year and next fiscal year. And those adjustments occur on January 1 following the fiscal year. So these were for adjustments that will occur January 1, 2020 and January 1, 2021. There are a number of questions that were to be addressed in this. First is, what's the performance of DWP as a whole? Are the rate structures working as intended for the first 3 years of this rate ordinance, or these rate ordinances? Are there any material misalignments? Are the budgets adequate for the goals? And can DWP execute these budgets? Next question is, what are the resulting rates? And what are challenges to be addressed in the next full rate review, not in this interim rate review, but when we have a follow-on rate review, a full scope rather than this limited interim rate review. This interim rate review is unique in that it's delegating authority to the board to change the base rates. Finally, there's our recommendation on adjustments to these base rate targets. Our conclusions, to cut to the chase. Did the rate structures work as intended for the prior 3 fiscal years? Yes, we believe they did. There have been major adjustments to spending, to debt issuance, to revenue, and the rates have kept, or DWP has been able to keep things in balance in spite of substantial changes. Are there any material misalignments on authorized revenue requirements? Yes, in our 2016 review, we were worried about O&M budgets being adequate under the proposed rates, and indeed, O&M budgets have come under more and more pressure as we're getting to the end of the 3rd year. Are the overall capital and operating budgets adequate for the goals? We believe yes, although we think the proposed new budget on power capital, one, is in excess of 2016 rates authorized and the plans and the ability to execute. But we'll have more discussion on that in the weeks ahead. We will have separately a budget report on the proposed final budget, and we're working with Ann Santilli and the FSO team on that. Can DWP execute these budgets? Yes and no. The capital plans, especially in power, are a stretch. Are the base rate revenue targets too high, too low, or just right? We believe the power base rate, and we'll have more on what that is later, should be reduced by 2%. And the water base rate target should remain as is in the ordinance. And finally, we think with a recommendation by this board to the council and the mayor, we should establish a formal 4-year or shorter schedule for complete rate review cycles, and we should do complete this first new full rate cycle by mid-year 2021. Now, to dive into the details. Power first. In 2016, the financial case in which it was the core of the proposed power rates, the expected power rates were anticipated to increase at 3.9% because of a variety of changes in the environment, fuel costs, and conservation. Those rates have gone up more quickly than was proposed in 2016, and a reduction in the base rate, which is about half of the total rate, is appropriate, and that would give a slightly lower 3.2% increase over the 5-year period. We're going to go
This
into...
says 5.2%.
Pardon?
Doesn't this say 5.2%?
Yes. Right now, without the proposed change in the base rate target, it would be 5.3%. Here, with the lower base rate target, it would be slightly lower at 5.2%.
You said 3.2. So
I'm sorry.
That's what confused me.
I'm sorry. Well, I have a habit of doing that. Catch me and correct me on that. One of the key drivers are the budgets. The budgets are not the only thing. Debt issuance, which is something we control to a degree, is an important aspect. Lower revenues because of conservation and the economy also affect this. But looking at rates proposed in 2016, we had these O&M budgets anticipated and these capital budgets. What we actually accomplished for the first 3 years, the O&M budgets were, for power, slightly higher than the rate budgets. And something we said frequently is rate reviews longer than 3 years create problems. And here's an illustration of the challenges. The O&M budget jumped substantially last year in terms of actual spending, at least as of the estimates at the beginning of April. And for capital budgets were underspent over the entire period, including the expected totals for this year. And we think DWP will have a hard time achieving the rate capital spend of $1653, although they may be able to make it.
Why were they underspent?
The challenges of contracting and hiring across a number of programs. Am I roughly correct, Andy?
Yes.
The budget request in the Navigant report that kicked this off had increases in the O&M budget proposed for the 1920 year, and well, we don't have a problem with that. We think it poses challenges, but we think the O&M is needed. On capital expenditures, in February, in the Navigant report, a capital budget for 1920 was $1,730,000. In the final budget, unless it's changed again, is 1735, slightly higher. We think it'll be tough to achieve those numbers. In our separate budget report, we will comment on that. Now, this is a chart over time provided by Navigant and their report of total rates. We're talking about this base rate component over this period. And if we provide a little more detail on those base rates, notice that's in the $2 billion range. And this is showing the base rate target, which was, because of conservation, not achieved, and there were adjustments passed forward. We're talking about a 2% change in these numbers represented by those two bands there. to do this in a numeric terms, the base rate target for each year, starting at 1.951 billion and increasing to slightly over 2.2 billion is what is proposed in the rate ordinance. If we follow the basic rate ordinance, the base rate would increase 4.76% per year in the last 2 years of this rate cycle. What we're proposing is a reduction in those base rate components of 2% in each year. That means the base rate will still go up 2.25% from the prior year in 18-19 and 5.19% in the second year for a total increase of 3.72%. That's where the 3.2% came from. In the 2-year period, and that's a total per year decrease versus what's in the ordinance of about $43.5 million per year.
Fred, are you proposing that because you assume that the factors which led to the lower than anticipated expenditures will continue to exist, and therefore we wouldn't be able to meet the larger numbers?
Well, there are two things. One, we need more O&M budget. And since that is current year money, it's more expensive in terms of its impact on rates. But we've also significantly underspent over this period on capital. And so it's the underspent history, not just this year, but prior years. And the other thing is we've incrementally financed this at lower than expected levels of debt. We've been using less than 50% debt on the increment. Now that helps us. Lower debt overall helps us, but it's also meant we've used more cash than we would have otherwise. But one of the key balancing accounts, the balancing account that corrects for primarily conservation, and when we don't achieve the base rate target forecast, looks like it will have a surplus over the next couple of years. So that it provides an additional reason, or the word surplus, it's over collected. So that can help balance out these changes. And the impact for customers are increases that are about $43 million less per year. What does this look like in total rates? The solid lines reflect actual rates being put in place. The dotted lines are what was forecast in the rate case. And we see in some cases the dotted lines for various blocks are above the solid lines, which means rates were less than anticipated. For the last couple of years, the solid lines have been above the dotted lines, which means costs have been or rates have been above what was expected. The changes due to the pass-throughs in the rates, which are about half the rates, have had a bigger impact. If I try to show you the net impact on the base rates because of this, watch carefully. Watch that solid line there and that solid line there, which are the rates for first tier and second tier power. See that line move down? Just barely. That's the impact of that 43 million.
Can you do that again?
Yes. So this is really not a major modification in rates. The pass-throughs for changes like fuel cost and greater conservation are much more important in terms of these changes. To switch to water, the short answer is...
Before you
yes.
do that, can I go back to page 4? If we reduce the basic rate, we reduce that in power by 2%, does that mean then that we will be able to fund some of the capital plans
We're able to fund the capital plans at the level that was specified in 2016 for this coming year, which is the amount that was included in rates. Power has not been able to achieve those specified levels at any time in the last 4 years. And we don't think they will be able to achieve their expanded proposed level in fiscal year 1920.
Now, if that's what you're saying, then why would the conclusion be that we should reduce the base rate?
The base rate is what we collect from customers, one of the components of what we collect from customers.
But doesn't that, by reducing, doesn't that make it less likely that we would be able to accomplish the capital plans?
We don't think that's the case.
It seems counterintuitive to me what you're saying.
Well, what's happened on capital plans, this is chart 8. Power has not achieved the rate specified capital plans at any time in the last 4 years. For example, this year, based on an April 2nd estimate, they were expected to be $100 million short. The proposal for next year requires them to step up by more than $150 million in capital spending, and they're unlikely. They stepped up about $150 million, $170 million this year, but we don't think another $150 million is likely. It's possible they could. It's possible this would be restrictive, but we don't think that's a problem. As part of the budget review, we're going to be digging in further detail with Ann Santelli on that. But it's not necessary for you to vote on this today. This is just giving you a preview of our report, which will follow.
Yeah, I think the key is that they haven't achieved their objective not because we don't have the money. It's because they haven't been able to execute the projects for a variety of issues unrelated to the money. And so I assume that what Dr. Pickle's now indicating is that based on the pattern, there's no reason to believe that they will be able to meet their target target moving forward. So we can reduce what we're collecting without impacting their program. Okay. That's where the reduction comes into effect. It's not that we're reducing it for some other reason. We're reducing it because we don't think that even if we have all that money, that they'll be able to actually execute enough projects to meet what's been budgeted. So and that's the case for the base rate reduction, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, what capital projects are you referring to here, and how significant are they to the functioning of DWP?
We will go through that in greater detail in our budget memo. It's just our focus is on the overall rate impacts here and the overall ability to meet these targets. And we think they're unlikely to be able to meet a target that would require a step up.
I think it would be helpful to know what we're really talking about.
The underspending has been fairly broad.
All right. Another thing, I don't know if you could answer this, but amongst us, right? You mentioned about that maybe 245 by the city council. Are you hearing that from somebody in your travels, or
no? That's just stating the facts.
Is that just a fact?
And that was part of the discussion in the ordinance process. It's documented in the ordinance.
Okay. Because it's never pleasant, the 245.
I don't want to try to handicap it.
Okay. I tried.
On water rates, water has also underspent, but there are other issues related to water. One, in the rate case in 2016, the expected increase over the 5-year period was 5.3%. Increased conservation and high cost of water in some of the mid-years of this process, we had a higher than expected 7.12%. If this was to be reduced by 2%, it would be 7.06%. These are the proposed budgets for operating and maintenance and for capital on power. Water held the line on O&M a little more closely until the 4th year, similarly to power. Capital expenditures, they were further, just as in total dollars, to nearly a $1 million total, they were just as underspent in dollar amounts as power.
For the same reasons?
For the same reasons.
Is that due, excuse me, is that due to conservation, water conservation and?
No, that was more due to the complications of contracting and building staff. The budget request in the Navigant report showed or proposed capital numbers O&M numbers that were higher than the original rate case, and the capital expenditures proposed by power by water at that point in time were reduced to reflect anticipations in accomplishing things. I think water has been more realistic than power in terms of its ability to meet those goals and has adjusted the capital budgets appropriately. And in the final proposed, a typo, water budget, the capital amounts have been reduced further. What's the impact? If we look at the rate case, the proposed increases in the base rate target for water were 2.2% per year, which was substantially lower than the proposed increases for power over that period. If we compare that to a 2% lower base rate increase, the base rates would be negative in the first year and roughly 3.59% in the second year for a total increase of 1.23. We think that's unrealistically low. And we think water has done the right thing by adjusting their O&M and capital budgets to lower expectations. They've also underspent. Their incremental debt, however, was higher at about 70%. They're more cash constrained in part because of the continuing conservation at higher levels. So we thought it would be inappropriate to reduce water 2% as well. The dollar amount of reducing them by 2% a year is roughly $10 million per year, or about 1% of their total budget. So we're not recommending a 2% reduction in their base rate target.
So the recommendation is just for reducing the power rates?
The base rate target.
The base rate,
The rates still go up. The base rate changing the base rate target by 2% still means that if for either water or power, the base rates will go up. These are the water rates. Again, the dotted lines are what was originally proposed in the rate case, and the solid lines are what is actually occurring. The third and fourth tiers overlap on the water rates, as it turns out in this case. Now, what isn't included in the interim rate review? Changes outside the plus or minus 2% range require ordinance changes along with mayor and council action. Second, if there's no full rate review by July 2020, the 2016 ordinances provide for base rate adjustments at inflation minus 2% with a floor of 0. So if there's no rate case, as has happened in the past, base rates will still be adjusted for inflation after July 1, 2020. But we do not recommend that. We recommend a rate case starting at least before July 2021. And no changes are intended for rate structure for the existing rates. That requires a full rate review. Some new or special rates, like electric vehicle rates, may be appropriate that could be handled by a single ordinance, assuming it doesn't have a material impact on the cost for other customers. And then metrics changes as proposed in the Navigant report can be handled through existing processes of the DWP board. Any questions?
Any questions?
A couple. So with respect to your recommendation regarding a rate review, you said you don't recommend that there not be a new rate review. Your slide said July 2020. Then you made the statement July by at least 2021. I'm curious, just because I wasn't here, as to the process, what goes into, like, how is a rate review initiated, and how long does that take to complete? Anybody?
Yes, the longest time it took was a period of time when the city insisted on no rate increases, and that was about a 12-year period, and that was not an appropriate way to run a utility. The changes proposed in early 2011 took roughly a 2-year period from the initiation of the effort through final acceptance of a rate increase in late 2012. The 2016 review, initial cases were prepared in 2014 with key studies completed in mid-2015, and the rates went forward in mid-2015 for the review process. So to give a shorter answer to your question, it's appropriate for us to begin cost of service studies this fall and have a formal case that can be prepared along with the budgeting in 2020, and a lot of the preparation would have to be done in 2020, even to start by early 21.
So with respect to beginning the process, where is that initiated? I mean, because I assume that, we don't set rates on our own, so we have inputs into rate setting, but then it moves someplace else. But I assume that we initiate that process?
Typically, the initiation process involves consultation between DWP and the city, even before it begins.
Okay, and has that process begun, David?
Not yet, but
we do have a contract in place to do those cost of service studies, which will start in the fall. And Dr. Pickle's report here, Financial Services will receive the full report later this week, and we will review that with our report, and we plan to come back to the board in June with the recommendation on the rates for the current fiscal year and next fiscal year as it...
No, I understand the interim piece of this.
Yeah.
I'm actually talking about the
future rates.
The future rates, which I know Dr. Pickle has made reference to on a couple of occasions. So I'm just trying to understand, separate and apart from the interim reviews that we're doing pursuant to the last rate study and then, process. But what is our plan moving forward? Were we to take, were we to be advised or informed by Dr. Pickles' report?
We will determine a timeline, but the first step will be to do the cost of service studies, which will be done this fall. And from there, we'll determine the need for a rate action. And it would go through the general manager's office to the commission. We'd also go into discussions with the chief legislative office, the chief administrative office, the mayor's office, to let them know our plan. And we'll develop a timeline. It does take a year or plus, depending on how many outreach meetings we do, what kind of changes are being performed, and which funds are being asked to be adjusted. Is it both funds like we did last time, or just one?
All right, but the initial work on that is
We'll start
starting
this
fall.
this summer, fall, yes.
Because I assume that as it relates to some of the plans that we've, that have been announced over the course of the last few months, that none of that's included in our current rate structure.
That's correct.
So,
Correct. One of the key items of the power system budget was some of the initial capital for the repowering of the Scattergood plant. That was to the tune of about $100 million a year, starting either last year or this year. So that was part of the underspend, and hopefully by early 2020 we'll have indications of more detailed plans that are appropriate going forward on things like power supply changes as we go forward.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Fred.
We will have a written report for you hopefully by the end of the week.
Great. Thank you very much. Now we have another budget presentation. Item 8B, LADWP fiscal year 2019-2020 budget.
And this is a presentation. There's nothing in your package today for approval, but based on questions from commissioners, in the past we've presented high-level program budgets as far as, our power reliability program, our infrastructure program. And so this budget presentation actually looks at our organizational costs. So Ben Trong and Marian Ann's from the budget office are with me today. And we'd just like to walk you through an organizational budget and then take questions. So hopefully at the next meeting we could come back with a final budget request for the 1920 budget year.
You expect to have that at the next board meeting?
Yes. So our presentation on slide 1, basically we'll go over the budget overview by Senior Assistant and General Manager for water and power. For the department, we have it sorted by cost and then also the function. And then we'll take a deeper dive into the joint system, also by cost, function, and also their division. Now on slide 2, as a reminder, power system is funded by the Power Revenue Fund and water is funded by the Water Revenue Fund. Joint is funded by both. Typically 70% of our joint benefits power and 30% water. But depending on the cost, we'll have a cost allocation to determine the most appropriate cost sharing between the two funds. This presentation is based on contributing organizational costs. So these are costs that each organization can control. These are the contracts that they're bringing to get the work done, as well as the staffing that they're bringing to get their work done as well. The way we talk about our costs is functional item. This is the highest level of actual and estimated expenditures for a project or program that we accumulate. And then a cost element is a type of cost. Internally, we talk about direct costs and allocations. Everything here is going to be direct cost, and it'll show you if it's the type of it's a contract, labor, materials, etc. So slide 3 is a high-level summary of the whole department. Starting with the organization on the far left, the Senior Assistant General Manager who's responsible for that organization, the actual expenditures for fiscal year 17-18. So for fiscal year 17-18, we spent $6.1 billion. Our approved budget for the current year we're in 18-19, was $6.8 billion. When we bring back the budget for 1920, we also propose a re-estimated 1819 amount, and that's $6.88 billion. When we look at our budgets, we always look at the rate case, because this is what we had planned to spend when we asked for our rate increases. That was $7.8 billion. When we started fiscal year 1920, all the divisions, they had in the budget system $7.4 billion, and they start with that point, and then they make their labor requests, their contract requests, and add to their budget as they believe is necessary to meet their objectives. So the preliminary budget that was presented to the board in March for 1920, that's the next column, which is the $7.499 billion. Our proposed final budget for the fiscal year 1920 is $7.426 billion. It supports a head count of funded positions of 11,123 employees. As of the end of April, we had 10,310 employees. So there's still 813 employees to hire. This is a tool for the department. There's one organization under the COO where the occupied headcount has went above it. There was a need, and our budget will allow for that, but it's something that we look at an overall level to make sure we don't miss any of our financial targets.
I have a technical question.
Yes.
It may not be that technical. Why do we pay for the city attorneys? Why don't the city attorneys pay for the city attorneys?
The city attorney is actually a contracted service to the department from the city attorney's office.
But I think it's actually a trick question too, because the folks that you see here, the city attorney's office is staffed, with the exception of the city attorneys, it is staffed by DWP personnel. So the personnel that are reflected on here are actually DWP personnel.
So these are not
and not
your
city
staff,
attorneys.
or
Correct.
city-
You pay a separate fee for that on an annual basis. The city bills you for city attorneys, controllers, the RPA, and some other folks.
I've never noticed this in all these years, so I was just curious. You're well worth it. I was not suggesting.
Some may disagree with you, but I appreciate that.
So our next slides actually just go into some details as for each one of these organizations. So on slide 4 is the power systems, high level as to what they spend the money on. So for fiscal year 1920, we're proposing a $3.2 billion budget. The majority of that cost is on our fuel and purchase power of $1.5 billion. Labor, regular and overtime, which they contribute, is $770 million. That's 4,460 full-time equivalent employees from the prior chart, and of that, 4,285 people are on staff. We do expect contracts of $531 million, materials and supplies to do our work of $240 million. We have joint owner contracts. This is where other utilities run our part of a utility plant that we own, but they're the operator. That's $54 million. And then there's other miscellaneous expenses that include transportation costs, workers' comp, other miscellaneous items that make up the remaining $46 million for power system. And then if you turn to slide 5, you can see from a functional standpoint, this is how we plan to spend the money. Our fuel and purchase power budget is a main function. We're going to use our labor, our materials, and our contracts to do distribution capital work of $257 million, which is the next line item. Power new business, we have $102 million planned, and that's up $20 million from the fiscal year 17-18 actuals. We have power transmission capital of $92 million. Distribution capital again of $88.1 million. Substation work of $81 million. We have long-term planning on our transmission of $66.7 million. We have our power system IT applications of $56 million. Barron Ridge transmission project, which is capital work, also of $41 million. Palo Verde, $39 million. Our power system trainee program is $32 million. Power system has a portion of power construction and maintenance that They do work on power, but they also do work for water. So power is anticipating $30.6 million of work to be done for water system and paid back to power. We have our journeyman training of $25 million, energy control center of $25 million, and our energy conservation program. They have capital spend in power system of $10.5 million, and then all other costs are $702 million.
As our sources of power fuel shift to increasingly renewable, how will that impact the price of fuel and purchase power?
The more recent renewable contracts have been very favorable to us, so it actually has reduced it.
And as this trend continues, does that mean that these costs will commensurately drop?
There's going to be a point probably where the cost of that next renewable is going to be a little bit more expensive, because in addition to bringing on that resource, you have to make sure you have the transmission path and other things in place to make it, to bring it to the customer, so it'll be a balance.
Okay, thanks.
May I follow up on that? The desert solar prices are now in the range of 2 cents to 3 cents. Transmission, even if you're building new transmission, is maybe a penny and a half. And in-basin fuel cost for running a peaking power plant is probably 4 cents or more. That's running it. That doesn't, not building it, not maintaining it, just running it is 4 cents or more. So the desert solar is cheaper to have. The problem is night.
Right, got it.
I'm not certain if any of you listened to the NPR news program that was on the air the other day. But for me as a commissioner, it was very disconcerting. So according to NPR, the state of California was rated a D- in environmental infrastructure. And the biggest concern that they focused upon is something that we spoke about during the last board meeting that I attended. It's not so much that our goals aren't very worthwhile and admirable. It's really how we're going to pay for the infrastructure to store renewable energy. And there was a very detailed discussion about this, and I do think it's important for us to follow up with that grade rating, because it really ties into all of these economics. And on a last note, you know, I appreciate how hard everyone works. God knows all of us, you know, we get our board packages on Friday. I stayed up late last night going through most everything. This was just given to us this morning, so I may have questions at a later date. I think it's a lot of information to process, and I hope that this material is also made available to the public.
Yes.
Thank you.
Turning to slide 6, this is the water system's main cost that they incur. So for water system, out of their $9.3 million budget, $285 million is proposed for labor, which is regular and overtime. $175 million is planned for purchased water. $126 for materials and supplies. $268 million of contracts, and then $57.5 million of other costs that water system needs to incur to perform all of its activities. On slide 7 is the functional breakdown of what a water system plans to do. So the largest cost is purchase water of $175 million. Replacing our distribution mains, that's capital work, $109 million. Water quality improvements to our reservoirs, $48 million. Groundwater remediation and cleanup, which is also capital, of $45 million. Changing out services, hydrants and meters, is $35 million. Owens Valley dust mitigation of $34 million. Water quality trunk line improvements of $23 million. Distribution mains O&M costs of $23 million. Pump booster O&M of $22 million, and then trunk line major system connections, which is capital work, of $20 million. And then there's small dollars in other functional items to bring the total up to the $913 million. So these are all the major functions that water system plans to do during 1920. On slide 8, we go into some of the joint organizations. So Marty has, as the COO, has some of that expenditures. He has a chief operating officer, executive office, and also in his organization is also the JFB facilities and maintenance costs. So we have a funded headcount of 298 positions, but we're occupied right now with 311. On slide 9, it shows the breakdown of the exec office, which hasn't changed much. It's mostly labor, which to run the day-to-day organizational COO's office. And one functional item also on slide 9.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So JFB Facilities Management, what does that entail? I just want to know who I should be talking to about some of my concerns.
So it's the folks that maintain all of our facilities, it's JFB and the other facilities. So it's the staff that does, and it's a combination of folks in that organization and plus people in the systems that maintain landscaping, custodial, repair work, painting, plumbing, things of that nature. Then that's separate than the real estate function that you probably, because like Brad with stacking it with the buildings and space planning and the architecture is more closely tied to the real estate function in terms of the planning for the building. So it's kind of the blue collar doing the work versus the planning aspects of staffing and space
I
requirements
see.
and things
So
like that.
essentially the condition of the facilities fall under you and your budget or your area of responsibility.
Right, the people who
And
maintain that.
the actual, well, I mean,
Right.
but
Yeah.
so it's the people who maintain it and the result, right? Because for me, it's not just it's at some point the accountability for the result of whatever the effort is goes someplace.
Right.
So I assume that falls within your area.
Yes.
And with respect to the actual plan in terms of who goes where or securing additional real estate and that kind of thing,
Space planning,
space
layout,
planning,
all
that
that stuff.
falls within someone else's, within
Correct.
Bradley's area.
Correct.
Okay, that's helpful.
And turning to slide 10, this is the JFB Facilities Management. You can see a breakdown of the types of costs. The bulk of theirs is the labor, regular and overtime. It is custodial and landscape services that's provided. And they do the facilities maintenance, and they do this building's operation and maintenance. So all of that work is at $31.3 million. Turning to slide 11 is the organizational cost for our CAO over technology and security, Donna Steedner. So for fiscal year 1920, we have a budget of $406 million. Headcount is funded at 2,099 positions. They're currently occupied at 1,811, which gives us 288 positions to fill. And then if you turn to slide 12, this is a summary of the Corporate IT Program Management Office. This is headed up by Flora Chang. So labor is $2.6 million. The majority of this is $11.1 million for contracts for a total of $13.8 million. And then down below, you can see that the Corporate Program Management Office is $2.9 million. The Enterprise Resource Planning Project, which is the system that we like to replace all the financial applications, human resources, and supply chain, we have a budget in there of $10.6 million for the fiscal year 1920, and then other small items of $300,000.
Does that budget anticipate that we will be engaged in that project at that time?
We believe that we will be hopefully issuing the RFP during 1920. That this project is a large, expensive project, but this is just the initial part of it.
Well, where does the $10 million go in one fiscal year?
It'll go to our capital, like work in progress. It'll go basically to contractors. So we have Gardner on staff to help us with an RFP to issue the ERP solution. And then there's additional contracts that we're hoping to bring to the board during 1920 to help us with that effort.
These are additional contracts to select a prime contract? I'm not clear
Well,
on that.
one will be to help us write a request for proposal to select the appropriate software and system integrator. Then the other one will be a suite of vendors we believe that will help us look at some of the challenges for financial services. We're going to have to redesign our chart of accounts because what we have now is probably out of date. The newer systems have something different. We'll have to look at how is the best way to track when you bring a person on board, they change from one civil service position to another. Those have cost implications to it. Right now, we have our own processes. Our systems are out of date, but we need to understand what's out there and available to us to make us more modern and efficient.
Do we anticipate one major contractor or several contracts?
That we don't have, that's to be determined.
And I guess I have questions around that as well, but they have more to do with, I'm looking sort of at the implications of the head count related, there's sort of the head count, then there's the contracts, right?
Correct.
And I assume that in order to effectively move projects forward, that we have to have the internal capacity to oversee those projects, to manage those projects, et cetera. So I guess I'm very curious as to what the implications are for, in particular, we have IT tech services. I don't know what it means that that the funded head count is 628 and the current occupancy is 493. And I guess I'm curious about how that works, how that's worked in the past. And I know that, we can budget for positions, but it's very much like the capital projects. If we don't actually move those positions forward, then that work isn't going to get done. So how is that accounted for and how is that tracked? I'm terribly concerned about there not appearing to be any targets or schedules related to, in particular, some of the technology issues that we need to manage and deal with. So
as far as
where does that show up?
As far as tracking, it would be on a report similar to this, but I think the department, utilizing human resources and city personnel, we're doing our best efforts to bring in those IT civil service positions to fund or to do all the planned work that we need to do. I don't have a particular strategy to get to the full funded headcount, but I believe IT is working on that.
So we hired approximately 100 people in this area in the last 12 to 18 months. There's additional hiring going on, and then at the next meeting, we are having the IT plan, strategic plan priorities, and planning document being brought to the board for your review.
And where do the people that our new hires, where are they being housed?
Right now, most are in this building, and then some are across the street at Figueroa, and then there's another portion that are out in the valley.
Okay, and because, you can see where I'm going with that. It's kind of, we've got lots of moving parts and plans and strategies that are kind of in various states of motion or preparation, and it seems really important that they all come together so that there's some rational blueprint for not just where we are, but how we get to where we want to be. And I'm unclear about what's the ultimate end goal, where are we trying to get, and how do all these pieces connect?
So as you know, we're in discussions to lease an additional 100,000 square feet downtown for just the reasons that you mentioned. We've got to have space to put the staff, and currently the plans are assuming that we will have that additional lease space, because there are several options out there, so that we could look at not just having space for everybody, but having efficient, organizationally appropriate space so all of IT can be located together and all of different sections of power can be together, and water. Right now in this building there are a number of discordant organizational pieces next to each other because they're just put wherever there's a little bit of space. So exactly as you stated, we've got to get the space, we've got to have the plan, that plan as you requested to come back with some of that next week. But it is already in process to determine who goes where, what timing, what's the strategy. Is it phase one, is it phase two, and then where these organizational pieces will be housed and made most effective.
And I assume that all of that is reflected, because this goes back to, I think, Commissioner Levine's question. To the extent that things are reflected in the budget, that gives, at least for me, it sort of sets the expectation that these are items that we will be achieving within, some distant, some relatively near term.
Sure.
Not 5 years, maybe not 12 months, but still some, pretty significant progress made in this, in that period. Is there some way of, separate from this presentation, is there some way to track the plans that you've just identified, or those strategies, with how they're reflected in our, how they're, with the timing as it relates to when we intend to achieve them, and some assurance that that's what's reflected in the budget here?
Certainly, there's, next meeting, you'll see what's essentially a timeline of when the different components of the IT plans are start and stop. So there's a number of different
But I'm not just talking about IT, though. I'm talking about the IT, about the space, and all of the other pieces. I mean, because I do know that hiring's constrained by space. I mean, that's just a reality that we're confronting. We talk about what's going on elsewhere, but we have our own internal realities. Mm-hmm. I know that other issues are constrained by staffing. So if we can't hire because we don't have space, if we don't have appropriate staffing to achieve certain level of performance in certain areas, those things are all things that, push against, some of our other objectives. So I'm curious about, because we have presentations related to our customer first agenda. And then when we dig a little deeper, we find out that, there are constraints that are constraints related to how we've budgeted, where people, how many people we've got assigned to achieving those objectives, et cetera. And I'm just trying to get to a point where we are dealing with those issues so that we actually have timeframes that we can be accountable for in terms of producing results.
Certainly. So we look at the space, we look at the hiring needs, we go through a process of evaluating what vacancies there are, what tests need to occur, so we can have valid lists, so we can hire the staff, bring them on, even so much down to the level of bringing on the appropriate number. If we're understaffed by 100, we might have to split that over 12 months versus trying to do it in 3, because we don't have the mentors or the managers that can take that step. So those are factored into the budget. We need to go down to the next level. However, we don't usually budget half a year of a person's position. So usually budget the whole year for labor, even if the anticipation is that you won't be able to hire until mid-year. However, there's sometimes vacancy factors that take that into account as we do set the budget.
Yeah, and again, I'm not looking at that level of detail. I'm just trying to make sure that that as you've gone through all of that, you're then able to say, based on what I've done here, we will be able to achieve, priority A by this date or within this time frame. We'll be able to achieve objective B or C within this time frame. That's actually what I'm trying to get to, not the mechanics of the budgeting.
Yeah. So the departments do have schedules to look at what can we do at I should say the divisions, what can we do in what time frames. So there is a tie to the budget and the needs for the individual divisions that have put forward what they expect to accomplish and when during that year.
Okay, so then I guess we'll see that in some of the presentations next week in terms of when these things that we've been talking about will be achieved.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, Ann.
Our next slide is slide 14, which is supply chain services. So for fiscal year 1920, we plan to spend 54 million, which the bulk of that is labor, and then a small amount of contracts, materials, and supplies. For supply chain services, the head count, they're occupied at 350 for fiscal year 1920. The funded head count is 372 positions, so that should help with some of the contract backlog and getting contracts available for people's use. On slide 15 is the functions that supply chain services support. So not only do they do the corporate purchasing, but they also do the power supply support. These are the stores that are out in the organizations that provide the materials for power, water, power distribution, and other areas so that they can have the resources to do their job. And then there is a small amount that Supply Chain Services has budgeted $700,000 towards the ERP program, because we know that the bidding portion will also likely be replaced as part of that process. Slide 16 is the Information Technology Group. So for 1920, they have a proposed budget of $216.9 million. And you can see our IT budget has grown substantially. Back in fiscal year 17-18, the total was only $137 million. So we've really allotted additional resources for IT. And the head count, they're occupied right now at 493, but they have a funded capacity of 628 positions, assuming we can get those people on board.
Does this include cyber?
Yes. And then on slide 17 is a breakout of all of the things that customer service, IT services plans to do. The bulk of it is the CIS replacement project at $37 million. Our computer center support of $20 million. Cybersecurity of just under $20 million. The communications, all our telecom at $18 million. Distributed systems of $12 million. The IT systems of $12 million, more communication capital work of $11 million, and then joint system project funding of $11 million. We do have some settlement costs that they're working on of $7 million, and then they also contribute to the ERP program management of $5 million and Energy Control Center of $700,000. The next area of operations is meter and services and field operations. So on slide 19, they have a budget for 1920 of $58 million. And again, this is an area that we've grown. So back in fiscal year 17-18, it was $46 million. And the bulk of this cost is labor, $54 million of it's labor, with a small amount of contracts and materials and supplies. And they support field service and collections, meter reading of $19 million, field investigation of almost $9 million, and field safety and training of $3 million. All other functional items, and this one is $6 million. The next one is security services on slide 20. So security service has a budget of $50.5 million. And security is a growing organization as well, so they're occupied at 274 positions, and their budget supports 302. The bulk of their budget is $38 million on labor, regular and overtime, a small amount, $7.9 million on contracts, $3.1 million on materials and supplies, and then other costs of $1.4 million. The bulk of their spending is overall general security services, but then they do have a certain portion where they secure water capital assets of $3 million, emergency management of $2.1 million, security planning of $1 million, and then any employee investigations that needed to be done of $1 million. And that's the remainder of the CAO technology and security services budget. On slide 21, this is the CAO for corporate services budget under Brad. For fiscal year 1920, we plan to spend $796 million. We have an occupied head count of 1,448 positions, but that's it growing to 1,572. And you can see he has several organizations that roll up under him. The first area is the claims group. The bulk of the spending of the $2.3 million budget is on labor, regular and overtime, and they support two items, which is settlement agreements, and then they have a small amount planned for claims, but for the current fiscal year, I believe that those costs are moving. There's nothing planned for this current fiscal year. On slide 23, we have the public affairs, which also includes marketing. So for fiscal year 1920, we have a proposed budget of $27.7 million. Of that, $9.1 million is labor. We have $7.8 million in contracts, $1.5 million materials and supplies, $5.5 million in other costs, and then we do sponsorships where we procure tables at events, and we do other things like that. The sponsorship for their organization is budgeted at $3.5 million. And down below on that same page, you can see that $8.4 million of that supports the marketing division, communications of $7.5 million. We do have a program that's loans to customers for utility services that they need to have on their side of the meter, which we have budgeted at $5 million. Intergovernmental affairs of $2.2 million. Economic development capital work of $1.9 million, and economic development O&M work of $1.6 million. And as for that marketing and public affairs, their head count is actually relatively, it's actually one person above their funded head count. Right now they're occupied at 66 positions, and they have a budget of 65. The next area for this area is customer service. So customer service division has a budget of $170 million for fiscal year 1920. That's about $66 million more than we actually spent during fiscal year 17-18. So we're growing in that area. And then also on customer services, their current head count is at 748 positions, but it plans to grow to 832 positions during this time. Let me step back one second. On slide 24 is the overall cost spending. So you can see out of this, labor is $83.6 million, contracts of $48.7 million, materials of $6 million, and then they have other planned costs of $30 million. And then with the items that they support on slide 25, energy efficiency conservation program of $4 million, our customer contact center of $44 million, water conservation incentives of $19 million, additional customer experience and analytics of $16.2 million. We have some capital plan customer experience work of $14.5 million, the mail center of $12.9 million, customer service branches of $11.5 million, our customer account care and revenue support of $10.5 million, safety training and wellness of $6.4 million, customer service systems infrastructure of $6.3 million, that's capital work, and then customer experience operations of $5.2 million.
I just have a quick question on that.
Yeah.
Because we've spent so much time looking at customer service through the customer and through Sharon's presentations and others. So are the elements that make up the overall customer service experience that we are seeking to achieve, Marty, are those elements reflected in the customer service budget, or are they someplace else?
There is $4.7 million for our internet upgrade in the customer service budget, if that's the one item that you're referring to.
That's one of them.
Where is it?
Commissioner Barad said, where is it?
It's not at this level of detail. I just, it was an anticipated question.
So it's not in marketing.
Rolled up a little bit.
No, it's in the customer service. They have the funds. And this budget is contributing. So there's also 500. The IT is going to contribute to this as well. So there is 500,000 in that budget as well. So when we bring back the final budget, we'll bring it back at the level of who's responsible for doing that work, regardless of which organization is helping get it done.
So I have what will be an annoying question in this general area as well.
Oh, what?
An ongoing problem that you all on this dais know that I've been concerned about for years is that when a project changes hands, often it's just dropped, and the contractor, whether it's a single-family residence or a development, is sort of left without knowing what to do. And then out of exasperation, after many months, they reach commissioners who call Marty or Andy, and then we learn that one person was transferred and nobody ever sent the matter to someone else, et cetera. And in the context of customer service, where in this budget is there an effort to memorialize or institutionalize a handoff or some kind of process to eliminate those problems?
So in this, and this is probably part of the lack of more words to describe everything. So in this customer service area, it's really focusing on the work that Sharon and her team does, and the customer call center, the relationship management, the special accounts and things like that. The customer service that you always hear about is when someone's seeking new business or relocation of a water or power meter or something like that, and they're not getting that level of service. So in those cases, there's new business both in water and power budgets, and so that would have been in their budgets. And so what you would have seen in the power budget, and it's probably rolled up a little too far, but in the power distribution area would have been an increase in staffing that we put in place for the folks who are actually doing the engineering design and installing power meters and that sort of thing. And so both the water and power, part of the distribution function is to take care of the new services. So there's a little overlap where we have worked on some of the IT processes together so that people can go online and see where their project is. Those are the ones we described before, and those are continuing to evolve. And also to make sure that the folks that handle everyday phone calls have a little more resources at their fingertips. But there's a difference between folks calling about the bills and programs that would be represented here versus the people that are doing, like developers that are doing new business, which would be in the systems themselves.
So there is a process, it's just not here.
Right, this customer service is not the one, this is call center times, customer relationships, all that, as opposed to customers, us serving developers as customers.
And it actually is included for power on page 5, which Ann has already gone over, but it's in there, and you might not have seen that line, and it went from $83 million 2 years ago to $103 million in this budget, so that we can better meet those needs, and that includes labor and the other tracking mechanisms. But we have gone up by 25% of budget over the last 2 years to meet that increasing level because new business is taking off faster and faster.
I'll refrain from editorializing further at this moment.
And it's good, because we all hear from different customer bases, and so that's...
Well, except, these are all big numbers, and there are a lot of them, and I share, the other commissioners. First, I appreciate the level of detail and the walkthrough, but it's also a lot to absorb at the same time. But it really does underscore the emphasis on results. I mean, the fact that we're spending money on something, if we're not achieving the outcome, it's pretty, I mean, it's a pretty sorry state to be in. And, you know, to the extent that we've been raising the same issues over and over and over, and, you know, Commissioner Levine says 4 years, at some point there's got to be either a recognition that the approach to resolving it isn't working, so we need to figure out a better approach. The level of focus isn't significant enough to get it done. I mean, I don't know if it's that there isn't enough money. Maybe there is. There seems to be a lot, but there doesn't seem to be an endpoint where we say we have successfully achieved this. And my sort of recurring theme is that's not tolerated in the power system. It's not tolerated in the water system as it relates to what we build and does it work. But it seems to be okay in other areas of our operations, and it's particularly concerning that we continue to disappoint with some regularity customers, and that we are so far behind in terms of similarly situated utilities as it relates to the level of customer-facing technology and apparent service. I don't know. I don't live in their districts. Some people have multiple homes and have experienced both, but apparent service capacity that they're able to achieve. So after a point, the question is, what's the answer? How do you resolve it, and by when? And, you know, what have you figured out, and how is this budget and this process that we're moving forward really aligning to what we keep emphasizing as priorities?
I think, Commissioner, we have recognized that what we've been doing hasn't worked. To a large degree in this last year, we've changed the management structure of the group for new business, and realign that into a group where we have Jeff Caribou in charge of the group now, who comes from the line series as opposed to engineering managing the group. Because from our side, we see the end product, because we're always the last one to get to the customer and deal with those issues. And just, you know, having Jeff there and seeing it from that perspective, not from the beginning of the project, but seeing the end product and knowing how could we have done a better job with that. So Jeff is implementing huge changes in that division and how we deal with customers. Part of the budget issue that where you see the increase is we were completely understaffed in that group for way too long. And now we've brought new people in, and we're continuing to staff that group, because a lot of it is people. There was a morale issue there that Jeff is rectifying, to where, you know, when you have a stack of 100 jobs, and no matter how hard you work, it never gets any smaller, right? So that's being worked. Do we have a lot more work to go? Part of distribution automation and smart grid will help that. You know, as we move forward downrange, you know, clearly we're not where we need to be there yet as well. But those are the direction we're going, and the direction, because that will give us that ability to serve the customer, to be able to have the apps where the customer can see what their meter's doing. And so we're not satisfied with where we're at. I think we're much farther along, just in dealing with the customers and how we deal with contractors and how we bring them in as a group and talk about all of their projects, you know, and not trying to take them one at a time, but how do we fit them in, and how do we communicate and get that interactive process with them. So we're not where we need to be yet anywhere, but I think we're light years ahead of where we were even last year.
Have we reduced that stack of 100 or whatever the number was?
Yes, we're getting that down. Like I said, we've brought in more staff to handle that. You know, part of that was there's a load of jobs, right? And so when you look at that 100 jobs, we get a lot of jobs that get started, but then the developer never follows through. So one of the key things that Jeff has them doing now with his group, and Eric Taylor, Brian Wilbur, George Nino, going through that and you know, going through those jobs. So these guys aren't going to be dealing with jobs that are never going to go anywhere. Take those backlog of jobs that are never going to be completed, close them out, get rid of them, so we can focus on the work that's going to happen and prioritize that work. And again, it's not, you know, clearly because we're still getting calls, we're not where we need to be, but
I appreciate this. But in light of the fact that these seem never-ending in terms of my experiences outside of this building, I think it would be useful, Jeff, if you would, if maybe every 60 days or something like that, we could get a update on the specific activities that you're leading in order to improve our customer relations in this particular regard.
Yeah, I also have a question, and I apologize because I did miss a board meeting recently. So was this draft budget approved by our board members, or is it? So I think this is, you know, an overwhelming amount of important information to be given to us like 20 minutes before arriving to a meeting, which I'm sorry I was late for it this morning, which I usually am not.
You usually are not.
I usually am not, but I apologize to everyone in attendance. But it's so much information. For me to properly add to my fellow commissioners' comments, I would want at least a couple of hours to digest this, to have backup information. And what I don't like about it personally, you know, it's this hard copy states 2019-2020 final organizational budget by the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. I did not approve this.
It's, I'll fix the label. It's really more what's in our financial plan for our 1920 budget. And this was really to give more information than we have in the past. It's really our program-based budget in the past where I was receiving questions. So I was trying to just give more information to get people comfortable with how much we plan to spend and also to get input.
And in fairness to Ann, if I can, I think the heading was unfortunate because I think her purpose was to do exactly what you're asking for, which is to give us 2 weeks to take a look at this. And she's going over the overview today. No vote's going to be taken today. Therefore, these issues that we're looking at and talking about, we really do have 2 weeks to review.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, and I apologize for the misunderstanding. Just the title of it came off badly to me, so thank you.
And just, you know, I see a lot of people standing up. I just have, Andy, to thank you for your further clarification. I just have a few quick questions. So is it that within the power system, there's a division that's doing customer relations, independent of the overall customer? I mean, because I think that's part of what I get confused about, the silos in the organization, so that.
So it's not called customer service relations. So for water and power, it's called new business. And so it's people who are coming in seeking new water or electric services, and it could be an individual home, or it could be a developer with a tract or a large building. And so that's been something that they have a new service desk, and they handle that, and Jeff handles it for power now. And so when people come in and want to do a development or need a new service, his staff engineers it, they get it actually designed, they get it installed, metered up to speed and in the system. Then there's customer service, as we know, customer service classically, which Brad was going to discuss, and that's all the customers facing things for the bulk of our million-plus customers. Most of them are not seeking to get new services; they're seeking to pay their bills and access conservation programs and things like that. That's what we call typically customer service. Probably the calls you get, and these are certainly that Mel gets, are related to people who are frustrated with getting their new business up and running, as opposed to what we classically characterize as.
Well, I think that there's
I'm sorry, there's language is confusing. I know it's kind of.
Yeah, no, and I you know, and I'm clear about the calls that Mel gets, and Arta's not here to stand up for, what you call the regular customers, all those other folks who are also concerned about what's occurring in their situation. And I mean, literally, I think we may have all gotten, but we've got a customer that has a billing issue that's hugely problematic, and I'm aware of a senior citizen who had a water leak, and a very high bill associated with that water leak. And I think we were very proud that we got the billing right, but we weren't really terribly sensitive because it didn't wind up in the right funnel about the impact on a senior citizen who's got a water bill that they can't pay, and nobody to talk to about that because it doesn't get routed into our customer relations piece. So they call the press. And so I guess as we look at these issues, I'm also interested in, but not for today, how the prism through which we are looking at our customer focused, mantra in an integrated fashion, again, from a, rolling up to specific results as opposed to through a lens of, well, there are these people and, this is how we're dealing with that, and these, it's all one thing, and I don't know that having it spread across so many different, both functional and also reporting structures is all of that conducive to getting the outcomes that we want. And I do want to say thank you so much for this, Anne. I appreciate the detail.
Ditto. Thank you, good job.
Good. We're good.
So that's Jeff Caribou. Jeff is at least the guy I go to when I need something fixed. He has stepped out of his comfort zone so many times to step up to take different responsibilities here whenever there's something that I can't fix, which is most of the time. I go to Jeff. So
thank you. Did you, I don't know if you wanted to, Brad was prepared, if you had any questions about the larger customer service organization and public relations and affairs, and all that's on this page that Anne's showing now. So.
Maybe over the next couple of weeks.
Okay. All right, then we'll go to slide 26, which is another organization under Brad. This is the Business Support Services area. And they do facilities management and industrial graphics, a parking office. We have an industrial graphics section down on the basement level that does all of our Xeroxing and printing and things. But on slide 26, it shows that we have a $9.8 million budget for them. The majority of that work is labor at $4.1 million. We do have contracts of $1.8 million, materials of $600,000, and other costs of $3.3 million. And then you can see they support facilities management services, which is mostly parking office, I believe, and providing bus passes and things like that. And then our industrial graphics section of $2.1 million. And then there's some supervision that we allocate out of that at $1.8 million. And their overall budget is $9.8 million. Another part of the area is called our lead organization. We have a budget of $49.5 million, and the bulk of that is in contracts and other. This is actually where we have our non-JFB facilities budget in here. So we have $44.2 million of dollars planned for that work, the lease and other things that we're going to do to create additional housing for our staff, and then $4.5 million of capital for this office building. And their overall budget for fiscal year 19 is 20 is $49.5 million. And then our real estate section is a small group. It has a budget of $6.8 million, but it has grown. Our actuals for fiscal year 17-18 was just $3.5 million. So we are continuing to support this organization. And the bulk of their cost is labor of $3.7 million and contracts of $2.2 million. They just have the one main function of handling all of the real estate transactions for the department.
And for the commissioners, so real estate may do the function, but when they buy a property such as for housing or lease a property for housing employees, that would be under the previous item, or?
That would be in the previous item, or if Water and Power had something specific in their budget they were asking real estate to help them with, it would be in their capital budget. On slide 29 is our fleet services organization. So for fiscal year 19-20, we have a planned budget of $155.8 million. $51.7 million of it is regular labor and overtime. We have $5.8 million in contracts. We have materials and supplies of 68 million, and then other costs, which is basically our rentals of equipment that, vehicles that we don't need to have here, but we rent them out for jobs of 30.3 million. And then the main functions that they do is the fleet maintenance of our vehicles, fleet operations, and then fleet equipment and replacements. This is capital work, that 45.2 million. Turning to slide 30 is the human resources budget by cost. So human resources has a large budget of 368 million, but one of the things that makes it so big is that the department's healthcare payments are all budgeted here. So we have a budget of the 368 million, 337 million is budgeted for the department's share of healthcare payments. Our labor for human resources is 17.2 million, which is 5 million higher than our actuals for 17-18. We have contracts of 12.2 million and other costs that bring it up to the 368 million. And then on slide 31 shows the main things that human resources supports. So the health care plan costs for both water and power, our workers' compensation office, employment services, employee health and benefits office, occupational health services, training and human resources, the human resources executive office, and then we do have tuition reimbursement for our employees. Combined is 3.1 million. So that makes up their total of their $368 million budget. Turning to slide 32 is the Labor Relations Office, and under also part of Human Resources, but they have a separate budget of 3.9 million. The bulk of their costs is labor of 3.5 million. They have a $300,000 in contracts and $100,000 in other costs, but their main function is to do all of the labor relations activities for the department.
Do you know, just offhand, or maybe Brad does, what accounts for the significant, sort of differential between the occupancy rate and customer service division, and also, at 832 versus 748, and then human resources? We also see, as you look at this particular, CAO corporate services, the places where there's, a significant difference in what's budgeted or the funded head count and the occupancy are those two, from my perspective, critical areas. I'm just interested in why that is and if there's an operational impact given what those units do.
Thank you, Commissioner. Customer service is probably the most obvious example there, and I think the primary reasons are, number one, it's sort of an entry-level position, and so people stay there for a year or two and then move on, and then it is a very difficult job, and so they're highly difficult, and so there is a little more turnover there than you expect in other areas. And then the recruitment process is ongoing and substantial in terms of the number of people that you have to test and examine to find the number of qualified. We actually had a very good event this weekend where this is out of several thousand tested and screened. We have about 80 that we're going to hire all at once and train. So a very extensive training program to answer questions about the multitude of programs that we offer. And so that number will go down quite a bit. But while we're doing that, more will promote, more will move on. And so we'll just immediately turn around and do another batch, really, of several thousand people that are tested and screened and reviewed, to get down to somewhere between 50 and 100 that will come with each recruitment that we engage in. So that's really the bulk and our most challenging recruitment effort. It's a difficult, challenging job, and Sharon does a great job of bringing people on and training them, but it is ongoing and continuous. And every call center I've been associated with and customer service function has operated almost the same way. It's really a constant recruitment and training effort. On the positive side, I don't know what could be better than having, hundreds, if not thousands over time, of trained people in customer service spread throughout the organization. So I don't think we see that as a negative, that they move on and promote. We see it as sort of a germination of customer service throughout the organization, and I think a positive one.
And that's mostly residential, right, Bradley? That's residential?
Yeah, well, they mainly deal with every customer issue, but primarily billing and turn-ons and turn-offs. But maybe I'll go back to the previous problem since I have the mic for just a second. Really the answer to much of what the Commission has talked about with new service is full integration of the CRM so that every contact with every customer is documented and inputted into a system. So every time they call the call center or call somebody, you pull them up and every contact is there. And so that is also in the customer service budget to integrate that with our water and power systems. You can imagine, and you've probably dealt with this yourself, a cable company or anyone, a customer calls the call center and says, where's the guy coming to read my meter or do a leak check or do whatever? And without that integration throughout the system, that customer service rep cannot tell them. They have to call them back or put them on hold so they can call someone and find out. If that was in a CRM, it would just pull up on a screen. They say, oh yeah, they're on their way. They just got hung up for half an hour extra at their last stop. And so, or even better yet, the CRM will just send them a text or an email saying, we're going to be a little bit late, we got hung up. And so that kind of integration is what's required, and that will stop the loss of say, a case where somebody maybe retired or got promoted or moved on, because every contact is documented within the CRM, and so nothing is ever lost. It's all right there. It sends you reminders when you haven't met timelines.
So is that work underway?
That work is well underway, and it's actually in place for many functions here in customer service, a lot of the energy efficiency items, other things. We've been building it really for a while, and in this budget is the integration of a couple of the systems in new water and power service. And so that we anticipate is going to, if not relieve a lot of these problems, at least have them well documented so the review is better and as a full context of what's going on with that customer. So yes, that's well underway. It really is the answer and the best practice for dealing with customers is to have the CRM be your primary system.
You're not looking at cable companies as your role model, I assume.
No, I am not. I hate to even say I used to run a cable company. How awful is that? But we were very responsive. I want to make that clear. So anyway, so I just want to let you know that is really the answer to all this.
And it will be completed when then, since you've raised that as the answer?
I'll have to get you a date on that because we've been piecemealing this bits at a time. But I will have that for you in terms of when various pieces will go online. I think there's, I want to say 7 systems that need to be integrated that would put most everything into the CRM, and there's 3 or 4 that might be so difficult it might be better just to replace the systems themselves rather than integrate them, and so we're evaluating that.
Because with all the marketing that we're doing to our customers, it would be really great if we were able to market improvements in this process and that process, and actually tell them things that will be meaningful in terms of how they relate to us. So knowing when and having a schedule and being able to announce would be great. Then my only other question has to do with, the other issue I had to do with human resources. You're short in that area as well. And again, with all of the issues we have around hiring, et cetera, I'm concerned that if we are understaffed in the areas that we need to support the things that we critically need to do, then that's going to reflect on the things that we critically need to do.
No, that's a good question, and we're moving forward to fill all those positions. We have space for them. So succession planning, a big recruitment staff that we've added, and then also some leadership training and management training, supervisory training, other training. And so those, I can't remember the number of positions, but it's a number of them that I think have been held back due to space concerns. We've been able to free some space up, and so we're moving forward aggressively on all those positions.
Thank you.
While you have
go
the,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
As I say, I did want to add one other item to the customer service department that's very important that deals with staffing, and that is Sharon is an eagle eye about what's called ASA, or average speed of answer, so which is call wait time. Call wait time also varies on how many staff she may need. It's very cyclical, and it's very there's a knowledge of when call wait times might go up, when they're the lowest, and she plans ahead because there's about a 3-month training and then a recruitment to make sure that we've got staff that also can keep that wait time, the whole time down. And so she plans ahead on when to get a batch of 50, 20, 70 to bring in and train.
Where is Bradley? He sat down. You weren't done. What is that?
I assumed you were done with me.
I'm not done with you.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that, though.
I want to thank you for your email where you incorporated the business community into the customer, what is it called? Customer Bill of Rights. Yes, thank you. Because I'm very concerned when we speak about customer service that we also mention the business community. And I think we have to consider that because our reputation is not very good in that area about dealing with new projects with developers and builders and so on. And so I'm wondering, in this budget, is this just kind of all integrated in there, or is that, do you have bless you, we're all sick over here, or do you have separate people working on that, a separate section, or it's just everything is rolled into that?
Well, in terms of customer service, we serve both business and residential customers, both through the call center and at all the customer service centers. So they're full service. And in fact, when we get our queuing system lined up this year, we'll be able to do that by appointment at the customer service centers. And so we can arrange both, again, residential and commercial appointments at the customer service centers. So with respect to new water and power service, and we can do that too, but we have to make arrangements. Those are really primarily a water and power activity, and we support them in every way we can, notifying customers, taking messages for customers, trying to integrate the field, which is where you have the biggest concerns with what's going on with the customer. That's one of the things that the CRM improvements give you is eyes into the field, which is really what we don't have right now. You can call the call center and they can generally tell you what's going on, but they don't know what's going on that second or what happened yesterday. And so the CRM would make that available. And also, as I said earlier, send automated notifications to residents and business owners about important things that are going on with their account or their business application. So that is all tied together, and I think we're going to make substantial progress on that this year, and I'll provide some timelines on when and how that'll be done. But it's a major change in the way we do business to have every interaction with every customer documented and in one location that any staff member can access. And so you always know. Nothing worse than having somebody from marketing send somebody a text or an email, hey, you ought to think about solar, and then having that person text or email back, I just got a system last year, you gave me a big rebate. What's that all about? And so when you have all that data available and at your ready, then those kinds of mistakes, don't happen, and you don't look stupid because you've sold something, tried to sell something you've already sold. Likewise, if let's say we wanted to do a highlighted insulation program out in the valley, it's a little hotter there, maybe in a particular community because it's low income and you want to target them. The CRM, you just draw a little circle on the screen and say send all those folks an email or text, tell them we got this rebate program and they should apply for it. And so that's That's the power that the CRM has, both in terms of customer service, but also in terms of marketing, outage notification, traffic conditions. All those sorts of things are pretty easy to do once you get it set up. And we're not too far off. And I'll let you know how far, which I know is important.
With respect to your question, so you may remember that Sharon and I had done a presentation on customer journey mapping a couple times. And so that kind of journey where we try to make electronic contact, the record, customers can see where they're at, is tied into the CRM that Brad is describing, so that people have information available, and internally we all have the same information to look at. So, and that would help with new services and people looking for new business as well, as a way to track that electronically. That's shareable by everybody here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I used all my.
So the next slide in our presentation is slide 33, our equal employment opportunities section. For fiscal year 1920, they have a budget of $1.6 million, and the majority of that is labor, of $1.2 million, a small amount of $200,000 in contracts, and $200,000 in other activities. Slide 34, this is the budget for the Chief Financial Officer. This is a large budget because this is where we budget our bond principal and interest payments, as well as our funding for the retirement and death benefit plan. So on slide 34, we have for fiscal year 1920, we have $988 million budgeted for both water and power for principal payments on our debt as well as interest. $589 million in retirement and death benefits. $75.7 million of insurance costs for both water and power. We have $54 million in contracts. We also budget here the department's property tax bill of $33.5 million. We have regular labor and overtime of $37.6 million. We have additional funds for health care payments. This is really an accounting adjustment that we have to make sure we fund enough under our accounting guidelines, where Human Resources funds the actual premium payments we make. And then there's $3.3 million in other costs. And then on slide 35 shows the functions that we support. So the big one is our bond redemption and interest payments, retirement, insurance, taxes. As you can see about the middle of the page, we do support the city services that are billed to us. So we do get a portion of the bill for the CAO, CLA, Mayor's Office, which we bring to the board for approval. We have $10.5 million for rates. And then we have our financial services support, which is expensed of $9.6 million. Our accounting adjustments for the water side of $9 million. And then we have additional costs for operations, our financial reporting of $9 million, our debt management program on the power side of $6.2 million. We have budgeted $4.3 million towards the enterprise resource planning project. We also have the Office of Public Accountability budget in our budget for $3.8 million. And then we have the debt management activities for the water system of $3.1 million.
We can probably cut that Office of Public Accountability number by some.
Speak with the council about that.
And then we have it on slide 36, we have our sustainability organization under Nancy Sutley. So for our budget for 1920 is $173 million. $67.6 million is contracts. $23.5 million is labor. We have a small amount of sponsorships, and then $81.5 million of other, which is really our energy efficiency spending for the department. And as you can see down below, our energy conservation program, $114 million. Corporate environmental services of $7.6 million. We have a portion carved out for Barron Ridge transmission of $6.2 million. And then the sustainability exec office of $5.1, and then wastewater compliance of $2.3. And then other miscellaneous items of $37.6.
I just had a quick question,
Yes.
and going back to the ERP program management.
Yes.
And the $4.3 million, is that what
Yes.
that is? Okay. So, and I know that Commissioner Levine covered this. I just wanted to get a little bit clearer. So this is the beginning.
Yes.
Is there an anticipated end?
That will, I think that'll be on the IT presentation that comes at the next board meeting, but it is a multi-year project. Once we start, I think the system integrator would help us identify when we think, we would be at a point where we could turn something on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then on slide 37 is our city attorney's costs. So for city attorney's office, the department has budgeted $70.4 million. We have $41 million in awards for injuries and damages. We have $25.3 million in contracts, $2.3 million in labor, and then $1.4 million in other. And I believe the $25.3 million is city attorney, includes the city attorney staff that we pay for back to the city from the city attorney's office. And that supports power direct legal services of $40.1 million, water of $15.5 million, general office city attorney of $13.1 million, and then we had some power direct legal services related to our RPS project of $1.1 million.
And did we base our preliminary budget based on our actual budget for this year? Is that how we went from 40 million to 41? Because I see before we were at an approved budget of 23, the actual, yeah. So essentially, it looks like we were spending, we'd approved significantly less than what we actually spent, and then we have a higher rate now.
It was actually, I think, this last fiscal year, we realized we weren't properly budgeting for the injuries and awards. So a lot of times there's a one-off where we have to pay or we have to notify our third-party insurance carrier. So we were trying to capture that spend.
Okay, so it was essentially based on experience.
More experience.
Okay.
Yes. And then on slide 38 is our Office of Safety, headed up by Frank Neglich. So for fiscal year 1920, we have $9.6 million proposed, with $5.7 million in regular labor and overtime, $500,000 in contracts, and then $3.4 million in materials and supplies. And then they support the Office of Safety, which supports both water and power, industrial hygiene, and then they have a safety item just separated out at $1.7 million for the 9.6. And then we have two smaller organizations. One organization that supports the commission office. So our budget for 1920 is $623,000. With about $500,000 in labor costs, and then a small amount of contracts and material services. And then you can see that it's really for the Board of Water and Power, the secretarial office, and then we have some capital ergonomic furniture and remodeling costs of just $10,000. And then we have the general manager's office on slide 40, which has a budget of $2.3 million for fiscal year 1920. Labor contracts of $1.4 million, labor of $850,000, $40,000 in materials and supplies, and then a small amount of sponsorships. And it's basically just to fund all the activities under the general manager's office. So that's our organizational budget. For informational purposes. At the next board meeting, we plan to bring back the final budget for your approval. We'll take input as far as things that you'd like to change. One of the challenges we have is we have to adopt it by May. So when we bring it back, we would ask for approval for the budget so that we could submit it to the council. But we would take into consideration, as you know, once we approve the budget, there's always re-estimating, and if you would allow us to take your feedback as part of that process so that we could capture it. We really have a bottom-up process for budgeting, so we want to make sure all the organizations that are responsible for what comes from the board plan for it at the right level so that they know that they're responsible for it.
I'm sorry, did you say this needs to be approved by the end of this month?
End of May, per the city charter, the council asked to have the final budget for the year approved and then transmitted.
Okay, so if any of us have specific questions after taking more time to review the budget, we should just contact you directly?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And thank you very, very much for a very comprehensive even preliminary but comprehensive presentation. Dr. Pickle?
It was 10 days ago when FSO got asked to redo the whole budget on this organizational basis, so it showed who was responsible for each category. And their budget system is not programmed to do that this way. And they did a Herculean effort with a lot of late nights and spreadsheet work to accomplish this. So they really deserve a hand for what they've done in turning out or making it possible to turn out this document. And it sounds by the discussion that it triggered a whole new set of questions in what I consider to be an important discussion. So I think they're to be complimented for that.
And we have Marianne Ans and Ben Trong here, but then I have other budget staff, Elizabeth Azrat and Sunny Beats in the office in here, as well as a lot of the budget coordinators that support water, power, and joint.
Well, you all deserve our thanks for a job well done. Thank you very much.
On page 5 of this document are some answers to Commissioner Broad's questions on how did spending change in the power area, and it's laid out in a way that provides the kind of history we have sought in a number of cases, where it doesn't just show, it shows the latest 18-19 year estimates, the rate case in 2016. This is on page 5. The rate case in 2016 estimates for 1920, and the proposed budget on the second yellow column on the proposed budget for 1920. So it really is a very thorough set of comparisons in terms of how is spending changed, and Power's list of expensive items will cross more than one page boundary. So the other category is a big category in this as well.
Thank you, Fred.
And if I could just very, very briefly, I do want to say to our new, not interim, but like full-on CFO, that I so appreciate the work that you and your staff did to prepare this report for the commission. I am always both impressed and grateful for the immense amount of talent that we have within this organization. And I think to the extent that you hear us pressing on certain issues, we just want to be super clear that we want to make sure that we're exercising our due diligence and ensuring that you have the tools that are necessary to allow you to continue to shine and to, in a situation like this, for instance, do a little less, fewer all-nighters to get this done. But it's much appreciated, and it is proven, and I think will continue to prove over the next couple of weeks, incredibly useful in our understanding the organization, the budget, and the functional responsibilities. So it's really, 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 from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate the work.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll see how quickly we can get through the rest of this agenda before our closed session.
No lunch yet.
Monthly reports, financial services for February.
The report is in your package. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Hearing none.
Can't we do that after lunch?
Well, we would have been here 30 minutes earlier. I think we should finish it off. I think it's going to be pretty quick at this point.
Okay.
Thank you. Informational reports, water quality regulatory compliance projects, third quarter.
Take any questions if you have.
Any questions? Hearing none. Approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the April 23rd minutes?
So moved.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
They're approved. Commissioner Barad, item 11, and then Commissioner Noonan has 3 items.
Okay. Who's here? Hi.
Hi. Shannon Pasquale, HR.
And Jeanette Maya Romo, Workers' Compensation Office.
I have a couple of questions here. First one is that In 2018, DWP was billed $32,795,394, but paid $10,040, resulting in a savings of $22 million and some change. Can you give me some of the details on that? Why we were billed one figure but we paid another?
Want to talk about the technical aspects of that?
Well, really, we really don't have any control over what a provider will bill, but we do have control over what we pay. Any payment is made based on the official medical fee schedule established by the state of California, and that's what our bill reviewer does. They review the bill submitted by the provider of services, and they determine what they are entitled to.
Well, if we save $22 million, then do we then use that as something to go forward? You know, how did that happen? I mean, that's a lot of money to save.
On average, Commissioner Barad, so like for the month of April, for instance, we were billed $2.8 million for our medical services for our workers' compensation program, and based on our vendor, they were able to reduce it so by about a little under 2.1 million. So we ended up paying $787,000 instead of the 2.1 that we were billed by the providers.
Now, are these kinds of numbers reflected in our budget, the savings?
Yes, I believe when workers' comps, when budgets are done, we budget for what we think we're going to have to be paying out. So they would be budgeted more on reflective on what we're going to pay out, not what the higher amount.
Okay. And there's a medical provider, you said. I thought somewhere in here it says that we don't have a medical provider. It says DWP does not have a medical provider network. So
we have health and dental providers for our employees.
Yes.
But the medical provider that we're referencing here has to do specifically with workers' compensation. There's a
okay.
difference.
All right, that's all right. So that's not spelled out here. Now I see. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So I'm very familiar with this practice. What I find challenging is that we have given Definity this contract since January 15th, 2013, and it continues on through the end of this month. You know, we've had a 10-year history. Supposedly, we had 8 entities download the proposal, and only 2 bids were received. I mean, this really speaks back to our procurement process. We keep talking about expanding our audience, yet the same individuals, the same companies keep getting the same contracts.
We understand your frustration, Commissioner Noonan. We do, which is why we do the outreach for the individuals who download the RFP, but then ultimately do not provide a bid. We try to understand exactly what it is and why they're not providing the bid. But when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, we had 2 bids. And as you can see, the bids were very close. And it was not an easy decision, but at the end of the day, we believe the bid that we're asking you to approve the contract for is in fact the best bid for the department and for our injured employees.
I disagree. I think, you know, this company has had the bid for 10 years. You want to give them an amendment for 5 years. Why not rebid it and try and increase our audience? You know, we talk about equity metrics and trying to get more local businesses to participate in our procurement process. I don't understand what the need is to, you know, extend this contract for another 5 years instead of 2 years and rebid it. Okay. The other thing too is, you know, I don't want to go into detail, but all of us as commissioners, we've received these memos about companies that state that they were deemed non-responsive for really silly reasons. And, you know, one explanation that our department gave to one company was that LADWP's electronic bidding system, ERSP, before the bid closing date, it experienced technical issues, causing the system to go down and be unavailable to all outside entities. And then it continues on with some, very weak response saying, we tried to reach out to you, but we're sorry we didn't, so try again next time. If I was, a small business owner and expending all of this time and money trying to have the opportunity to work with the department, this would be very frustrating. And you hear this stuff time and again.
Okay, as a point of clarification, we did go out to RFP. This is a new contract. We're not asking you to do an amendment with them. This is a brand new contract. As it relates to your concerns on the procurement side, I'll defer to Erin, and she can comment on your specific concerns.
But hold on, they have a contract in place.
Right.
Through the end of this month, and now you're asking to do another contract with them for another 5 years. So how is that not? It may be, you call it whatever you want, an amendment, a new contract, but that goes to say that we will have secured using them for 15 years.
I understand that, but we did go through the process of getting the word out because we didn't know who we were going to go with. We're not asking you to extend their existing contract. You're correct. Their contract is still in existence to the end of the month. We had to go through a brand new process. We did the RFP process. We had our bidders. Unfortunately, we only had 2 in the end, and then we made a decision based on the qualifications.
I think that what's being sort of raised is going through a process that leads you to the same result over this extended period of time. There's just some questions about how valid and effective that process is. And, I'm familiar with these kinds of contracts as well. And it is difficult to imagine that there is just nobody else out there that's interested in or that could effectively perform this work. There has to be a point at which we actually start to get a different result, if not a larger pool of potential applicants, in order to potentially get to a different result. So, we can process ourselves and be technically correct on the process, but if we're not getting the result that we're after, at some point you have to question what's wrong. And 15 years is a long time, and this is, I've certainly seen the same thing over and over and over. People get one contract and, they're here forever, and that doesn't seem to be, what we're trying to achieve.
Erin Henning with Procurement Supply Chain Services. You're right, and you can see in this board item that we went above and beyond simply just posting it. We absolutely were trying to get a different result where we reached out and did some additional outreach to try to get additional and new vendors to propose. But like Shannon said, unfortunately at the end of the day, whatever outreach efforts were, we only received 2 bids, which were both complete bids, which we evaluated. All the other vendors, we also made it a practice to go back and search and find out why they didn't bid, so we can continue to do improvement.
And why didn't they?
For various reasons. Some of them, they don't provide complete services. Others of them did not have time in which to complete the bid documents for this. And they don't have any expertise in this area is what we heard. But we did provide those responses back to you in the...
So I guess one question I have is, A, how much time did they have to bid? B, if we're doing outreach to companies that don't provide this particular expertise, then it certainly, sort of, in my mind, says something about what our outreach effort, the quality of our outreach, because we should be outreaching to, vendors that can actually provide the service. So we get the numbers, we outreach to X number of people, but only, but those people can't really bid. So, I don't know what that gets us to. So I'm just, I just want to say I share Commissioner Noonan's frustration and do have a question about how this could be done better.
Well, certainly, there's a lot of things that we have in play that we certainly are trying to improve the procurement process overall to get new, small and diverse businesses in all lines of procurements at DWP. Like Commissioner Noonan alluded to, not specifically for this item, our electronic bidding system did go down at the end of last year, and so we are looking for ways in which to go ahead of the main ERP system in order to replace that, and to make it easier for vendors to submit electronic bids as opposed to a paper process. In addition, we are looking at various ways in which to interact with the community through advocacy groups and other ways to bring on more businesses so they know about the opportunities at DWP, as well as participating with Brad Hudson and his group to do some improvements on the website to make sure that people are aware of our opportunities.
Five years is a long time.
Is there a motion to approve? Well, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Apparently not. Well, what is the desired recommendation?
I think, in my opinion, this choosing the right partner in this regard is very important. And since our contract expires at the end of this month, I think it would be irresponsible as a board to start from the very beginning all over again. But in my opinion, I would feel comfortable with a one-year extension. I would like it to be rebid, and I would like to see a greater response because since they've been working with us for 10 years, I just think that it's not in the best interest to our ratepayers to give them another 5 years without competitively bidding this properly, where we get the responses that our ratepayers deserve.
Is that a motion?
That was my question.
I suggest that.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to provide a one-year extension. Those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
13, Commissioner Noonan.
Hello, I'm Robert Gonzalez, the Director of Power Construction and Maintenance. This is Phil Omler. He's a section manager of our test lab and the contract administrator for this question.
Okay, so first of all, I just have difficulty with the wording of this request. It states, extend the current term of the agreement by 1 year with 3 one-year extension options for a total of 7 years. Am I doing the math incorrectly?
Well, the contract was already existing, so it would be
No, I know.
total over time for 7 years.
But is it not expiring this year? So I just want to make certain that we're clear on what's anticipated, because it's one thing to extend for 3 years, it's another to plan for 7.
Actually, it seems that you're correct on that. It's a 3-year contract to start. We went out for an RFP 3 years ago, and we're looking for an extension on a yearly basis as we are winding this down, as we have our training programs going full speed right now. And so we are looking for an additional year extension, and we will consider it in another year.
So the 7 years includes the first 3 years that are now over. You're talking about 4 more years.
Actually,
I don't have it in front of me, but no, we're talking about 3 more years, 1 year at a
yeah,
time.
we are talking about 3 more years.
But the 7 years would include the 3 previous
I'm
years,
sorry.
and the total length of the contract would
I've been
be
corrected.
7 years.
It is
At
4
the
years.
end.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 years.
So it's 3 plus 1 plus 3 additional ones.
Right.
Correct.
And the first 3 is done, basically.
Correct.
That's correct. And we're looking to get away from this contract. We have agreements with labor that we're going to pull away. We've set up a new training program. We've created new DDRs and positions, and we're working towards that end.
Well, aside from just the math and the wording, what I didn't like about this request is I don't think it's very explicit that we've already provided $18 million for this work, which is being given to IBW. I think it's very important to be very clear on what we're paying for. And the wording that really I was unsettled with, it says that there's no viable alternatives that we need to provide this money to IBW to extend contract amendments with IBW for quote-unquote knowledge transfer and as-needed electrical testing and maintenance. So, I mean, I never want to be held hostage for knowledge transfer. Isn't that the
So I don't
proprietary
have that in
information
front of
the
me,
department?
but just to clarify a couple things, this contract isn't with IBEW. What we're trying to do is get in-house people hired and trained to do this work, and those would be IBEW members. But we're not being held hostage so much as this contract. We have a void in talent right now, and we're trying to fill the gap to get people up to speed. We had a lot of people retire suddenly, and they continue to go, and these people are giving us the expertise to train our folks.
But just for a second, isn't it true that IBW comprises over 90% of our workforce, right?
I believe, yeah, I believe so.
So then why are we paying a premium for people that we've provided nice salaries with to pay them to educate new employees as a quote-unquote knowledge transfer tax?
Okay, so it's a misunderstanding here. The people that we're hiring are not necessarily IBEW members, and they're not Local 18 members. They're a contract that have very specific expertise in relay and commissioning skills that are training our in-house people whom are Local 18 members to do the work. So we're trying to fill a gap, and it's been a long process to get people trained, actually to set up a training program and then get these people trained. Like I said, we've created positions, not just positions, but position descriptions, duty description records. We've done all these things to get this training program up to speed so that we will no longer have this issue. And in doing that, we have 40 trainees in the program now, which will be IBEW members. So I think there's some confusion there.
And let me just stop you right there. There is a lot of confusion. I mean, you've just agreed that there was things that are misstated. There's a lot of confusion. In my opinion, I think that you should review this request, be much more clear about it, so that our board understands what's being asked, what the history is, and so the public understands as well. Because there's a lot of conflicting information, and you've even pointed it out yourself.
As far as the conflicting information goes, we certainly can go through the wording and the verbiage once again. But to be clear here, what this contract is all about is currently in the testing laboratory, the relay test group and the station test group, there are a limited number of personnel to perform the commissioning work for all of our power substation contracts. Power substation projects. Not only that, we are tasked with doing all of the cybersecurity for our stations. It's a very critical function. And all of the personnel that have the knowledge base are currently working full-time in the field. This contract here is only to supplement training and knowledge transfer for the new personnel coming in that are being hired. They're being hired at an accelerated
I'm very
rate.
uncomfortable with
So
knowledge
if I can
transfer.
add, this contract doesn't expire till July, so we can go back and review this and we'll bring it back.
Let's do that.
Thank you. It's one thing if, training, I think that, we owe it to our employees and to our community to have the most efficient experts train our people, but I don't like the idea of having to pay for knowledge transfer. I think that just does not sound correct. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, and it's we'll bring it back.
All right, thank you.
Can I just say a couple more things?
Probably don't want to.
Okay. Thanks.
Do we need a vote to defer that?
No. Oh, yes, we do. Is there a motion to defer?
So, second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
It's deferred. Item 14, Commissioner Noonan.
We also have a speaker card for 14.
Okay.
Go ahead and call the speaker.
Okay, the speaker is Derek Levitt.
Hi, Derek Levitt from Modative. I spoke on this item, I believe, at the last meeting, and I just wanted to come and quickly support what was proposed and what's being proposed today for your support. This goes a long ways towards really improving the opportunity for people to create ADUs in their yard. I would just say, aside from supporting and passing this resolution, it's important going forward to make sure that the process becomes as easy as possible for homeowners to make this happen. Right now, we're still looking at 4-month delays for encroachment permits, and so we're hoping that by passing this resolution and maybe making some changes between the way that this department works with Department of Building and Safety, that those timelines can be dramatically reduced. That's all.
This harkens back to the presentation and
Yes.
extensive discussion that occurred at the prior.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Great. Thank you so much.
Did you miss, were you at that?
So, and I apologize if I did miss that discussion, but this does trigger the last board meeting that I attended, where we are providing a property for to address our serious homeless situation. And it was told to us that they weren't going to spend the night there. They were going to use it for storage workers. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's not really
That's
this. I can
not
answer
this.
that though. So that's a property. It's in the transmission line right away in North Hollywood, and so what it is, it was a place for storage bins, not for because we can't have folks living under the high power lines.
That was
Right, and so but we have a storage bin arrangement with I think showers and other facilities there. That it's in a very busy right-of-way. It's adjacent to one of Rich's key trunk lines that feeds all of downtown Los Angeles under the transmission right-of-way, but it's an area that we set aside, and it's one of I think, the first homeless storage place where they can store personal belongings. So that's what that was.
Well, thank you. Thank you for refreshing my memory. I am very sensitive, and I look forward to working collectively with the mayor's office to address our serious situation with homelessness in Los Angeles. However, you know, because I do feel we have a fiduciary responsibility to our ratepayers, I just want to underline that, you know, as we are trying to work with the mayor's office and assist in creatively addressing how we can help the situation, I want to make certain, because I don't see it really laid out, that we are not going to be providing insurance. We are not paying for these properties. Is that correct? Because if there is a cost, I think we just need to be very clear about it. And I think that we should discuss the surplus transfer to the general fund being used, and not our rates going up to address this, because I don't know how involved we are going to be in helping this situation. I hope we are, but I also think it's very, very important to be clear on what the expectations are in terms of us financing it.
I think you're talking about a different issue.
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so
This is not a homeless-related issue.
Yeah.
No, it is.
It's a
So
housing
what this
related.
this allows, this is really bringing the department in alignment with a recent change in state law that allows for homeowners to develop alternative dwelling units, like taking their garage, for instance. So this is a homeowner issue within a certain distance from our lines. And so our own internal policies were more restrictive than state law. And this just aligns those policies with state law. That's all.
So it does have to do with additional housing in Los Angeles. The issue that you're talking about in terms of use of department properties, I know Brad and the Suite from Real Estate are working on that issue. We've been very involved with the mayor's office and the other city departments in looking at sites, and that's been really led by the mayor's office in trying to get homeless sites for we call it bridge housing in each of the council districts. So we're part of a coordinated city effort in that, and looking at our properties and how they may be useful in that area.
Well, I want to thank all of you. I feel much more clear on the motions.
And this does include the fact that if we have to do work for this, the homeowner is responsible for paying our costs.
Right.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
I move
Second.
adoption.
Those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Commissioner Barad, item 16.
Okay. I have some questions about this. This is the project is part of the city trunk line south,
Yes.
Yes.
and that's Coldwater Canyon Avenue, and then Witsit between Van Owen and Magnolia.
It's
replacing the line that's on Coldwater. So the one on Coldwater will be abandoned. There's no work on Coldwater. The new work is on Witsit between Van Owen
So,
and
didn't we just recently work on Coldwater?
yeah, farther up the hill. But this project is not working on Coldwater. It's
It says Coldwater Canyon.
It's replacing the function of that line, so that line will not be used. Instead, we're building a new line to replace the use of that line.
And so it's, I mean, closer to Ventura Boulevard?
It's on Witsit. The work will be on Witsit between Magnolia and Van Owen.
Well, wait a minute. Go back, if you could please go back to
Yep.
Coldwater Canyon. Because Coldwater Canyon was, that trunk line, I thought was replaced recently.
South of Ventura, or south of Parthenia, or no?
South of,
Is it south of Moore Park or south of Ventura?
yeah,
by the high
going,
school.
going up, I mean, past Harvard, Westlake?
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Right. So this is the next section above,
above.
Yes.
but it's not, it's moved over though.
So there's a picture of where this new section is going to be.
You have the map. You have
Yeah,
the
there's the
map
map.
in your package.
Okay,
So you could see the map.
okay, let me see, Susan.
And it's in your package as well.
Okay, yeah, I see that's in here. Okay. So this is not what was just replaced?
No.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. All right, and then the Witsit, that was like out of, you couldn't go on Witsit for a long time. You're rolling your eyes.
I'm trying to remember.
So there's,
I'm not rolling them.
It was a mess.
so Commissioner Banks, this project is two phases. The first phase actually has been done by Internal Forces Trunk Line Construction. So they're still working there, so it's open trench work. So that phase is being completed. What we have before you today is the second phase, which is primarily jacking and micro-tunneling, which will then actually, once our phase complete, this part of the phase, which will be done by contract, will do jacking and micro-tunneling under some of the major, actually, intersections that you see in red. And the reason why we did that is to try to alleviate the traffic consideration and congestion on Witsit in those major cross sections. So this is the second phase of the replacement for that particular pipeline.
Because the Witsit project seemed to take forever. And it was a mess. I mean, you couldn't go on that road at all.
Yes, so it is very challenging, of course,
Yes.
because, so that's why actually we're doing this micro-tunneling, because we're trying to alleviate some of the congestion around the major intersections. So you could see those red portions will
Yes.
be tunneled, so we won't have to open trench those. I'm not saying that they won't be impacts, because we still will have to dig pits for the tunneling, plus we also will have to do some open trenching, but that was to try to alleviate some of the construction and traffic impacts while doing construction along Witsit, and of course crossing those major intersections.
All right, and then the other question I had was, let's see, was that back? Where was it? That the quotation, the price is 9.3% higher than the engineer's estimate. Is that standard? That seems like a large percent, 9.3% higher.
So some of the cost was influenced by some of the recent tariffs. So the bids that we got back are higher than expected.
So we have, yes, Donald. Mhm. Okay.
But you notice the traffic on Witsit, you can imagine if that construction was happening on Coldwater, what it would be like. So which is why the pipe's on Witsit instead, so.
Yeah, okay.
Jill doesn't want to be responsible for either one of those streets.
No. Those I get calls on all the time.
Susan's trying, she went underground.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
Okay, thank
Is
you.
there a motion to approve?
Yes, so moved.
Second, those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay, last open session item 18, Commissioner Noonan.
So I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm going to ask you the same questions. Why did we have 33 downloads to bid on this and only 3 were received? And again, the same company, Pavico, is that how you pronounce the name? Pavico? Pavco, who we gave we paid $56 million to from 2016 to 2018 and paid them another $42 million since 2017 to do work. Why are they being awarded the contract again? I mean, there's something just missing here in our procurement process.
This is a very unique niche contract that not many contractors want to participate in. Most paving contractors go for the project-based jobs, and one of the bidders was one of those. They came in very high on their bid.
Meaning they want to do complete streets for miles and miles and miles, because that's where the big money is. And so this is just when we have a blowout, 100 square feet, we call them in, and so it's just a bunch of small jobs.
If it is so specialized, why did 33 companies download the bid then?
To see what it was about. But as soon as they see the type of billing that we have, it's small unit price to quantities. We got very good pricing on this.
You did receive 3 bids.
Yeah.
And it's the method for selection is just low bid.
Yeah. This contract was uniquely created for our blowouts to get better pricing and to get better control of the blowouts, to get better performance and completion of them. So that's why we did this as a separate contract from our other paving contract.
Let's just focus on this company. So why for 2 years did we pay them $56 million, and then for the past 3 years, $42 million, and now just for 1 year, they're asking $58.9 million.
These contractors are working for us on our trenches as well, under different contracts. We have had these contracts in place for years, the trench resurfacing, and that's even a narrower niche. But they both have participated in that activity also. This is a new, unique contract for blowouts only. So it's a little bit different, but we were able to get better pricing, and we'll have better control over the scheduling and completion.
And it's a 5-year contract. So that 58 million is.
No, because it states, I read it in detail, but it's 1 year with 4-year renewal options.
Right. Yes.
With an expectation of paying them $58.9 million, but up to $73.6 million. So I understand what you're saying, but I guess I'm just going to ask you, is this the right company to go with? You're the assistant GM.
Say that again?
Is this the right company to go with? I trust your opinion.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Well, I guess for me, it's counterintuitive to say that we're doing something because it gives us better control and better pricing if we're bidding a contract in a way that reduces the number of people that can actually, that would actually consider bidding on the contract or do the work. So.
But the same people participated as before.
What does that mean?
There's 2 companies that will take on this type of work, and they both bid.
But that's what I mean. So the point is that
it's been that way for 20 years,
so
and we do outreach.
The absolute wrong thing to say to me.
Well, we do outreach.
That's the justification. We've been doing it that way for 20 years. That just tells me, oh no, that's a problem. We probably should examine how we do it. Right. But if you would just stick with my question, which is, it is counterintuitive.
But he didn't say we've been doing it for 20 years. What he said was this is the situation that we've been in for 20 years, that there are only 2 companies who do this.
That's right. Every time we do bids, we do call up the bidders, and we ask them, why didn't you bid? We do that each time.
So, hold on.
It's just
what you said when you began,
I'm sorry,
in responding to Commissioner Noonan, what you said is we've carved out this particular work in this particular way because it gives us better control over our spend and our pricing. That's what you said. And you said we have 30 plus, this large range of bidders, that download it, not bidders that,
Right.
but that download it, but they didn't follow through with the bid because this is very specialized work and there are only a few people that will do this. So what I was trying to understand, because it's counterintuitive to me, that if you are, specifically designing your, the bid package or the work in a way that is attractive to only a very small universe of entities, how that results in a lower price when typically if there are more people that are interested in the work, you're likely to get more competitive bids. So that was what I was trying to understand.
I can see where that is counterintuitive. My only explanation is that we wrote the contract for our needs, for the type of work we need, and we did our best to do outreach on this. And
well, the thing that the way this work was done before was on a different contract. That was the primary purpose of that contract was for trenching work.
Yes.
And so what we did, we used that contract and just had a small slice. Asked them. That wasn't the main part of the work. Wasn't the main part of that future work. So you didn't get real competitive price. You got competitive price for what the majority was for trenching. And so now you're singling this out. So what we really want to do, the majority or sole focus of this contract, this work is to do the blowouts. And so that way you get competitive bids just for this work. Whereas before, you weren't so certain you were getting competitive prices because it was kind of an add-on additional work.
Okay, that I understand.
Okay.
And of which there are only 2 companies who do.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of paving companies in this area that do that work.
So there were only 2 companies that do the trenching? Or
Well, we got 3
2
bids that were received on this one.
They do the blowout.
we typically will get a third bid from a different type of contractor, but it's usually always high like that. This one was way high.
I mean, I don't think it's, with all due respect, counterintuitive. You got 2 companies that do the work. You got to choose between the 2 companies.
Let's just say that's a little bit.
Well, that wasn't what I said was counterintuitive.
Yeah, no, I think that there is a problem, and I have been advised about this from disgruntled entities that are just tired of bidding for DWP work because allegedly sometimes they feel that the requests are tailor-made for specific companies. And I just want to make certain that that's not the case, given our history and the amount of money that we are paying this firm. If we are ruling out companies that are able to do the work because of some kind of minutia or small detail to favor one company over another, I would have a real problem with that.
That's not the case. These are the only companies that are interested in this work, I can assure you. And actually, until recently, we didn't have participation with the other company. Now we have both of them actually working for us. They're both fiercely competitive with each other, but now they're both working for us under different contracts. But it's the nature of the work. It's not very desirable, but it's very tedious and time-consuming doing the scheduling and staffing because it's small piecework. Most of the contractors like the big work, and right now there's a lot of it out there. So,
right.
You okay with it?
And Pavco Pavco was one who, before, was not the one who won the bids for many years. And so
yeah,
they were ones
complaining.
who would call and be disgruntled about not winning the bids because they were not the low bidder. So then they changed their pricing a number of years ago and have beat the competition. But it is a straightforward low bid contract.
Okay, well,
keeping everybody working.
I think, as long as we're very transparent, and I personally do trust what Rich Harrisek recommends. So, I mean, your word is very important to me. And as a side hobby, I'm going to look into this paving thing just to become an expert of it myself. So,
Christina's going to go into the paving business.
I am. Okay.
You'll have an additional
We would
bidder.
welcome your competition.
Now I'm going to look into it, but for now, I suggest moving forward with this bid.
Those in favor?
Aye.
It's approved. Thank you, council.
At this point, we will recess into closed session to address the items on the closed session agenda, and in accordance with California Government Code Section 54957.1, we will report any final actions taken therein.
Jill, you can eat.
What?
You can eat.
I can eat now.